Hurling Pod
on Off the Ball
with Applegreen, making every journey better.
Welcome along. This is a slightly brave new world that we've stepped into here, where we're bringing you the podcast. We're not necessarily doing this as a live pod in the way that we would stick the comments up on screen and kind of hand it all over to the listeners in the one go. But basically, this is our recording session, and welcome along. You can watch on in. It's not that we won't take questions from the floor. I see a whole lot of them already come in from the Facebook and YouTube, even before we started this as live recording. And we will go through some of them. The best ones we'll have a screen through as we do our chat. But generally, you're here, you know, it's like a fireside conversation. You get to see us record the pod live as we would normally. So, decent day all in all. Decent weekend. Great weather. Good second weekend of Championship. We're given high drama. Two really good games in the Munster Hurling Championship, particularly this afternoon. Kevin Mahoney, very, very late on, striking to the net to earn a point for Waterford. The Waterford fans are out in force on social media saying, right lads, what do you think about Waterford now after what happened today? They were 11 points down against the All-Ireland champions Tipperary at a point, but they got back to get a share of the spoils. Alan Connolly, Shane Barrett, they got 2-10 between them. Cork edging out Limerick eventually at Porky Queeve. The league champions now face a trip to Clare without Keane, Lynch and Aaron Gillan. And Paul Murphy's not having it. That Dalo turns around the TV and goes, do you know what? Now that might be a different type of pressure that's on Clare now with those two lads missing for Limerick. TJ Reid, he got 1-8 on Saturday night. Paul Murphy was there in person watching it in the sunshine in Kilkenny. He is back at the top of the All-Ireland scoring charts. He's gone on to 41 goals and 657 points. So he's gone ahead of Patrick Horgan, who of course is now retired. So TJ will be setting the record himself this summer. And the Cats showing a bit of character to see off Wexford in the end after we'd all questioned the way they played in Salthill the week before. In Salthill, Galway beat Offaly today and Fergal Whiteley got 2 goals. Dublin seeing off Kildare in the other games in Leinster. The Hurling Pod here and Off the Ball is with thanks to Applegreen, helping you relax, recharge and enjoy the journey ahead. Yeah, it was a really good day. I think very enjoyable. I think we'll kick off with the 2 games in Munster. But Murph, I want to ask you first, because last night you were putting in really positive messages into the group. We were wondering where you were with Kilkenny after what happened last week, and you were going, do you know what? The smell of chips around Nolan Park, the freshly cooked grass and the nice sunshine. I'm in a different mood this week.
Yeah, even before the match started. So there was great turnout in Kilkenny yesterday. From both Kilkenny and Wexford fans. And I think it was kind of reflected across the board. Like, Will, you mentioned, I think there was 11,000 in Salthill. And I know people would say Porky Queeve was sold out. But obviously, that was the match of the weekend. But, before, as I say, 6 o'clock, game was thrown in at 6:30. 6 o'clock, there was 11,000 inside in the park. They had the under-10s, all the under-10 boys in Kilkenny were marching on the field at half-time, so behind the goal was packed as well. And there was just great colour and kind of energy around the place. And just the sun, the weather just makes it, as well. I mean, we've had plenty enough weekends now where it's been lashing rain. And as I texted into you yesterday, the smell of chips at a match is unreal. I don't know whether it actually just smells better at a match. But before the match even started, I was just it felt great. And even today, again, you're looking at a packed out Porky Queeve, sunshine and brilliant match. And then we get a second match afterwards. I just thought as a hurling weekend, it was just mighty. I know some people might be disappointed that scores didn't go their way for teams, but it felt like the height of June or the height of July traditionally, as we usually have to wait that long. But I was in sunglasses on now. I was enjoying myself in Nolan Park yesterday. So I was just sharing the good vibes with you. That was all.
Incredible stuff. Before we ask how James Skehill is getting on, I want to bring you a staff from Jordan Norris's full-time report, which has been carried by a few places here. The last time the Tipperary won at Walsh Park in the Championship was in 1996, the 2nd of June to be precise, and the top scorer that day was Tipperary's Liam Cal, who is now their manager.
Amazing.
I realise it's a bit of an anomaly though, because you don't play each other every year, and the round robin has brought these home and aways more often and that type of stuff as well. But it just, again, probably speaks to Waterford's home record. And loads of their fans were onto us last week, went too harsh on them after the performance against Clare. They did show a bit of grit this afternoon, Skehill. They were very impressive in that second half, weren't they?
They were for periods, yeah, for sure. And I suppose people will look at the Tipperary 11-point margin and they'll say that was a collapse. But I don't think it was a collapse, to be fair. I think it was more of a Waterford, spirited fight at the end, especially in the last bucket of the game. Even the bravery of, I take great, admiration for people who take risk near the end of a game. And so Billy Nolan, do you remember the last ball he took? Left the ball out, cornerback, stayed going, took the ball to get another 30 yards, risked a hook or turnover, and lands the ball on the top of the big square for I suppose to make the break for Kevin Mahoney. That's just about doing what has to be done. And so, from my perspective, it was good to see the Waterford crowd behind their team and finishing extremely strong. And again, you look at Bennett and you say to yourself, how is the man still going with his hips? I think it's his hips, isn't it? I think I'm correct in saying that.
Yeah.
They're in. Look, to use the Galway phrase, they're in shite, like his hips are in shite, okay, and he's still going. He scores what, 312 last week, 110, 111 today.
Yeah, 110, 312, I think. Someone surely picks us up, but yeah.
It's admirable, like in fairness, what he's doing, like I won't say he's carrying the team, but he's coming up with scores at vital moments and getting Waterford on his back, getting the crowd behind him, and creating a buzz around them to finish strong. Like that's an amazing leadership, trait on his behalf. So I think, let's say, yes, there was an element of collapse about Tipperary, but Tipperary still came back and there were 3 points to the good, in fairness, like last puck of the game. They showed great battle too with the likes of Skehill and Tobin. Like they did, in fairness, they put the shoulder to the wheel as well. So I can say it was a full Tipperary collapse. They'd be extremely disappointed. I think that's obvious. I think they probably had that one. They probably felt they had enough done, on the 74th minute to see that one out. But just that's the game of hurling, folks. And that's Munster Championship in particular. Like you one ball to the square, ball better off, and it ends up in the net. So it's hard for me to say it was a fair result. I didn't know. I thought Tipperary were the better team, marginally to go out. But you get what you deserve. And like Waterford got a point and Tipp lost one. So I think that's what it deserved.
Yeah, I was listening to both Liam Call and Peter Queally, which you can get in the Off the Ball social media now. It went up just a few minutes ago. Their reaction after the game, Peter Queally was a little bit more frustrated. He kind of said a point doesn't really do anything for either team because you want to be winning games with the nature of this championship. And Liam Call was very much of the feeling that because of the way that Waterford had played second half, he thought it was a fair result for both teams. Because look, with the way the second half went as well, Waterford come back into it. Tipp still kind of nudged themselves back in front, and Waterford had that guile to go and get the goal at the end of the game. So I think as a neutral, a draw seems a pretty fair result overall. If you don't mind, Skehill, can I go to Goalkeepers Union straight away? Because Gary was on very early doors in the comments, and I got a couple of tweets about it as well. Basically, Billy Nolan now being the form goalkeeper in the country. We talked about how well he played last week, made some crucial saves against Clare. He was all action today. And to quote Tommy Walsh, or perhaps to misquote him slightly, he says he'll save the really, really hard shots to save. He'll save the easier ones to save. It just seems to, at the moment, that when he comes out, he's a very difficult man to beat.
I agree with you. And I only had this conversation on my couch earlier on today. We're trying to, in current form, not in historical form, not in the past, not in what you've done in the tank. In current form, what's the top 5 goalies in the country at the moment? And I still have Nicky Quaid as number 1. Like I thought he was excellent again today, but I had Billy Nolan number 2. So like what Nolan has done over the last number of weeks is everyone will look at the shot stop and say that's fantastic, and it is, right. But he's become a pivotal player for Waterford's attack. Whether that be short balls, even when the ball drops into an open play, he's starting from 40-yard passes, 60-yard passes. He's always on the run, open nearly as a sweeping defender. He's an option. He's a 7th defender. And I see the Waterford backs turn to him like religiously, a bit like they do for what you're going to do for O'Keefe. Like if they don't have something in front of them, they turn back, give it to Nolan, and he'll pick a good option. And like as well as that, he handles so well. He doesn't drop anything. He's calm under pressure. His shot stopping is exemplary at the moment. And like you said, sometimes the big saves will come, but you have to save the relatively easy one. And today's penalty with McCarthy, that could so simply have gone in the net. Like look what happened between Burns' shot and Collins. That potentially could go in the net. If that goes in the net, there is no way Waterford will come back today. Fact. But he went down early thinking it was going to be a harder shot, but he still saved it. And like I said, I've admiration for the risk he took near the end. It was just go for broke. So I agree with the sentiment. Like, is he the best in the country at the minute? For me personally, I think Nicky is still, the upper echelon, but he's a firm second for me. And well deserved. And he's had a tough, time or two. You have to understand he's been on the panel. Help me out here, Murph. Has he been on the panel 5 years, 6 years?
I don't know how long he's on it. I'd say Sean O'Brien. All right, Sean O'Brien was there as well.
He was in, and then Sean O'Brien got in, for a while, and then Billy Nolan got fucked out, centre back. You know what I mean? Like, which is a mad situation.
I like how undemocratic you are about that. It wasn't a case of let's try him at centre half back because of his distribution. He's fucked out to centre half back.
Fucked out centre back, yeah. In a mad
midfield, I think, at one stage, wasn't he?
Well, he was somewhere abroad there. He wasn't.
I think I remember in Thurles one day he was out midfield. I think there was one of the last games in Thurles where not one of the last games, one of the last games of that round robin in Thurles where Tipperary needed a win or something just to get out, but it was cagey. Like Waterford were ahead basically, but I think Billy Nolan could have been midfield that day. Yeah. Could be wrong.
And as well as that, like you have to understand as well, folks, that like Billy Nolan is Stephen O'Keefe is a fantastic goalkeeper. Probably the best goalkeeper the Waterford ever had in their history. I'm not going back too far. So there's probably an underlying element of pressure too on his behalf that he can be perceived not to be the best goalie in Waterford. I don't give a shit. As of right now, he's performing really high for Waterford and is a pivotal player for them. So what he's doing now is assisting Waterford in their forward play and also stop bullets. Like as I said last week, Clare could have beaten them 15, 16 points if it wasn't for him. There could have been 4 more goals. So like it was a fantastic outcome from him last week, and then he backed it up again this week. So yeah, he's grown. Fair play to him. Keep it rocking, my friend.
Yeah, I think even the one where John McGrath was through and he hits it on the ground, it's like Nolan made it really difficult for him. It's like you'll appreciate that skill, whereby oftentimes when it breaks like that, the goalkeeper's got very little chance because Ricky, it's going to go down low. He made himself big for as long as possible before that shot was taken.
And he got low with his feet, so like the ball, I believe, hit his foot or shin. And again, I'll repeat, if that goes in, it's game over. But he managed to make his body straight in front of the line to make the angle as tight as possible for John McGrath, and it just goes past the post. Yes, they scored a 65, but irrelevant. Like in as regards to 65, that's not a big game moment. Conceding a goal at that time was a big game moment, and it's very hard to overcome. So when you have a keeper that pulls off those saves, and like I've often said in this podcast, as John Hardman used to say to us in Galway, like if you can pull off the saves that nobody expects, that's an inter-county keeper. You know, we see shots that are I would say mid-height, and I often say in the club too that if a shot is saved mid-height, that's not a great save. It's a bad shot. It's a bad shot. You can't give the keeper that option. So when you see someone like Billy Nolan getting down low and shoving that shot around the post, regardless if it hits him or not, I don't care. He's in the right position. A bit like Nicky Quaid's one today with Brian Hazer. Like that was a great save. Connolly,
that was a great save. It was a fabulous double save.
Fabulous. Like, just brilliant. So your body's in the right place. You're showing bravery. You're standing upright, and you're doing it for the team. So it's I love watching it, to be honest.
No, Goalkeepers Union, it's a good way to start, and we've had a few brilliant saves today as well. And I think with the Quaid one, he would have been more than happy to give away a point, given that especially 2 point-blank saves coming through. So again, Nicky Quaid, very impressive indeed. Tip Back That a Fact has asked a question that you can take up, Murph, here, because it comes off the back of what happened in the second half as well. Is whether you're calling that Tipp second half performance a bottle job, or was it just a concerning second half collapse? Now, Skehill's already said he's not calling it a collapse, wants to give credit to the way that Waterford played.
Not a full collapse.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But for you, Murph, what is your take on Tipperary's performance in that second half, given that they were 11 points up and massively in the ascendancy going into half time?
Yeah, like I, to be honest, I just leave out both the words there of bottle job or collapse. Like, because I was just looking at it there, because oftentimes as GA people, we like to, and even maybe at other sports, we like to put a name on something, say, okay, that's categorize that under collapse or categorize that. Whereas each week we're saying that, like, a team doesn't become bad or good overnight. Like, I mean, it's just a case of you mightn't have hit full form today, or maybe the other team actually, were really good. And if you look at it, the stat for me that kind of reflects that Waterford came back at him. Half time, Waterford had 1-7 on the board. In the second half, they scored 2-17. Like, regardless how Tipperary, if they drop off the standards a small bit, that to me says more that Waterford just suddenly, threw the shackles off and went at him. And that was apparent on the field. So I wouldn't say anything about bottle job or collapse on Tipperary's side. I would just say that Tipperary wouldn't be happy, because Tipperary could have still won that game with 3 points. As in, one of the things that I say Tipperary will come away with, and it could have changed the whole dynamic of it, was they were carrying the ball out. Ball was nearly on, the clock was nearly on 74 minutes. And I can't even remember there's 2 defenders. Ball comes out anyway to the half back line. Waterford are after loading everyone up top, landing the ball in, and they work it out. Tipperary strike the ball off their own 45 in towards John McGrath in a one-on-one situation where all they had to do was carry the ball out. Just keep carrying. If they get turned over, it's a ruck. And that ruck, even at that stage, like, the clock was up, And I think when Tipperary look back on it, they'll go, that's game management, in terms of, as they were coming back at us, we did nothing to try and kill the game. Now, you have to give credit. Players came off the bench and got scores and got involved and really made an impact. So they had moments there to actually see out the game, but they just didn't. But you really have to give credit to Waterford, because, again, 1-7 at half time, 11 points down, wasn't looking good, and they needed a really spirited performance. And again, I think Skehill said it at the start, Stephen Bennett puts in a huge performance there again. How he does it, I don't know. It's like John McGrath nearly down the far end. It's not that either of them are blessed with lightning pace, but their hurling brain is outstanding, and their ability to get scores from nothing is outstanding as well. So I would be hesitant to call it anything like a bottle job or a collapse, even though I know people with their blood up today and wanting maybe to brand the team or whoever, Tipperary, whoever it be, as, bottling it or whatever. No, like, They dropped off their standards a small bit, and what happened was, once Waterford got momentum, it's very hard to kill that momentum. And Liam Cahill will be saying to the boys now on Tuesday night, lads, we were in the driving seat there, and we can't be giving the momentum to that team. Like, we have, when we have the momentum and we're in the ascendancy and we're getting scores, we need to keep pushing on. You can't open the door. And it's not a case of, if Waterford won this game and Tipperary were up by 3 or 4 points, Liam Cahill wouldn't be saying that. When you're up by 11 points, Liam Cahill has to turn around and say, lads, there was plenty of opportunities there where we got warning signs, and all we had to do was maybe carry the ball a little bit more, pop a score over the bar. And like if you remember as well, Waterford left a few scores behind them in terms of if I'm thinking the last 5 or 10 minutes, they were dropping balls in around the 14 where their full forward line weren't in there because the full forward line were coming looking for the ball, and they were striking these long balls in, and Rhys Shelley was just picking them up and going, working it back out. So Waterford were even wasteful in the last 5 or 10 minutes. So there was opportunities there for Tipperary to really slow it down, stem the pace, and pop over a few scores that would just keep it to that 3 or 4. Like Will, you were saying, I think before we went on here, like that Galway with Offaly kept it to 3 or 4, even though Offaly were there and thereabouts, and you're thinking maybe they could do something. Galway just kept it out. They just kept it at arm's length. And that's something I just think Liam Cahill will go. And it's funny because you look at the two managers afterwards, Peter Creeley and Liam Cahill, and Peter Creeley is understandably annoyed and upset because I think he looks at the first half and go, like 1-7 is just not good enough at any stage. And if we just had a 1-11 or 1-12, or we hurled for 20 minutes in the first half, like we did for 35 in the second half, we would have won that game. Whereas Liam Cahill is going, we took our foot off the gas and we're lucky to get out of here with anything at all. So that's where the two. So funny enough, the manager that was up by 11 points at half time is relieved at full time, and the lad who's down by 11 points was going, we brought it so close and we could have got over the line. So it's interesting, the emotions that are around it. But like I said, like the question was, is it a bottle job or a collapse? I could just give full credit to Waterford here that they lifted themselves up for this game after the back of losing by 6 points up in Ennis. They could have had 11 points at halftime inside. I saw Jack Fagan gave an interview saying they were so disappointed. They could have dropped their heads and they didn't. So I would lean towards Tipperary will be disappointed with dropping their standards, and I'd leave it at a dropping of standards for the second half, whereas Waterford came into the game and deserve full credit that neither team will be happy with a point, but a point is better than nothing for Waterford now as well, because they can go, right, we can try and build on this. We had nothing after 1 week. Look, it's something, and who knows, 3 points might get us out of Munster.
I'll tell you what, Murph, when Ozzie Gleeson won that free and Bennett pops it over and Waterford go 2 up, I was sure a listener from last week who was tweeting us saying that he had the humble pie ready in the oven. I think the oven was going back on at that point, getting ready to use it against us. But then again, Tipp swung the game back in their own favour, and then we got the Waterford goal at the end of it. The question has come up a little bit there, Skehill. At this point, can Waterford now come out of Munster? Because obviously now they've taken on both Clare and Tipperary, gave Clare a good run, obviously drawn against Tipperary. It's a difficult run to get out, where they've still got Limerick and Cork particularly to play. But can they get out of the province at this stage with their 1 point from 2 games so far?
Well, they'll obviously have to increase points, but the possibility, it's possible, of course, but even the most loyal of Waterford fan would say it's unlikely. It's not probable. They have Limerick and Cork to come. And if I hear anyone on this podcast going to tell me that Waterford are going to do it, put 500 euro on Waterford to come out of Munster and show me the bet slip, right? Otherwise, sit down, okay? Okay. It's going to be a very hard task, to be honest. They have 2 very, very hard teams. We saw the first game today, and the pace at which that game was played, and the scores that were going. Just the level of the teams are operating at the moment, and even with people missing, the likes of Lynch and Glenn in future, it still doesn't. I just still don't think it's going to get Limerick to miss a beat. So for me to see Waterford try and take points off those 2 teams is very hard for me to see. Now, I'm not saying it's not impossible. I just think in terms of probability, it's low, to be fair. Whereas we're looking at Tipperary, they have one of the big teams gone out of the way. Fair is fair, and the chance of them to knock off points probably is a bit higher. But again, they have it all to do. It becomes for me probably a straight shootout now at this point. When you look at the way the draw is going to unfold between Tipp and Clare, would that be fair to say?
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to say. You still look at the Cork and Limerick and you go, the levels they're outputting is fantastic. And I say this now, and I'm sitting here and say there's still a possibility that Clare could beat Limerick, and that's fine. But I still expect, Cork and Limerick to come out of the group. But Waterford to get more points, I can't see it at the moment. I just can't.
Okay. Well, when you look at as well what they have to do, they've Cork at home and they have Limerick away. That's daunting enough now as well, considering what we saw today. What we saw today from Cork and Limerick, regardless of the result, you're looking at every other team in the country going, can any of those teams get up to that standard? That was an enormous standard. So when you're looking at Cork going down to Waterford, yes, Waterford have put in good performances against Cork down there, be it in the league or round robin phase in the past. But what we saw from Cork today tells us a little bit more about the frame of mind of Cork when they go to visit Waterford. That was a huge performance today. So when they go to visit Waterford, is it an easy task? Would they let them back into the game with 11 points up? I know people will say, well, the All-Ireland final last year, it's different. It's different at this stage. And I just think, and as well the other side, I just think any team going to Limerick at the moment that's a very tough task to do as well. So
do I need to warn you that the most outrageous prediction you made on this podcast was Cork are going to hammer Waterford out the gate a few years ago?
There's no need to bring that up, but yes. That one was the one where I was like, remember, you'd be often saying to me, like, get off the fence a little bit more. So I was like, you know what? I'll go with my gut instinct here and I'll just say it. Like, because 10 or 11 point defeats aren't that rare at all. Then, Hail Mary of a one, yeah. Oh, I'm good. I'm back up on the fence now anyway. I'll keep it 2 or 3 point victories from now on.
Yeah, no, true enough. Look, again.
You boys had no wins this weekend, did you?
Let's not bring that up.
Hold on a second now. So I've
did you?
Here.
Kilkenny, Wexford.
Well, yeah.
Good lad.
It's a fair point. Actually, I meant to text it into the group. Yeah, Dublin Kildare. I meant Galway, Offaly.
I think we all back Galway to beat Offaly as well.
Munster,
there were many wins.
I was actually going to text it into the group there. I was saying that was a great call. It was a very steady call from you last week now to say, Cork, you seemed very sure of yourself, in terms of how they were going to go about it. So I was like, that was one of the best calls you made in our time on this.
It wasn't.
No, but like it wasn't like you weren't even that much drawn into picking Limerick. Like you were like, no, I really fancy Cork for this one, and you weren't to be swayed. Not we were trying to sway you, but I was like, Jesus, looking at Limerick's form, I just think Limerick here. But you were no, that was a great call and very, very measured. Fair play to you.
The only thing about Limerick at the moment is I think that and I've seen it a couple of times now so far, is where they race out and they attack teams like from the off. They're probably I jumped off Waterford and Tipperary with it.
No. Look, this would have been the obvious starting point, is that after a few minutes of that game you'd be thinking Limerick are absolutely flying here.
Well, they did. Look, Murph gave me a natural segue there, but I've watched Limerick a good few times this year, and what they can do is they can just get ahead of you. They should blitz you from the very beginning with a pace game and a movement game that's very hard to match, and they can race out into a lead, a bit like the league final as well, and against Galway. And you say to yourself, right, they have a habit of getting caught. The purple patch of the opposition team comes in the form of a goal. You know what I mean? And it comes in a couple of points or frees. Then they level off during the game, and it becomes a titanic battle at the end then, And I'm saying to myself, when I look at Cork, and I'm thinking, who's to come off the bench now for Limerick? And I'm saying, geez, in terms of energy and rejuvenating the team, I don't see the same level of, youthfulness and energy coming from Limerick that I do in Cork. And in today's game, that's very hard to look past. Because regardless of what you think about the team that starts, the team that finishes at times is vitally important, especially when the game is in the melting pot. And the minute that goal went in with regards to Connolly, it's like, ooh, squeaky bum time now, squeaky bum time. And it was hard to see where the scores. There was a point in time in that game where before Burns got the 21-yard free, where these scores are going to come from. I bet you were watching in real time as well, fellas, and you were saying that yourself. When the half-forward line of O'Brien, O'Neill, O'Connor, they looked youthful, right? And you're saying to yourself, where is this score, this big catch going to come from? And it just didn't come at the time. Then they got the 21-yard free and pulled themselves back into it. Yeah. So that won't happen every day, Murph. You won't have that every day. And I know, I look at the shot count, Limerick had more shots from play. They had some very bad wides. And I think there's a particular moment in the game where you'll remember Colin O'Neill had 3 bad wides, one after the other. Yeah. At times you're saying to yourself, a lad of his calibre, well, the last one was a crazy shot, but a lad of his calibre should definitely nail 2 of them. And that would create a small bit of distance for Limerick in a tough period. And it didn't happen. And you're saying those are the kind of, and you can see a pattern. It happened in the league final as well, Will. Where there was a couple of chances that they could stretch the game more and allow themselves a bit more breathing space towards the last 10 minutes, and it didn't happen. So, look, I think Limerick, they're still a fantastic, excellent team. There's no two ways about it. But there's just that not that feeling of invincibility as there was a couple of years ago. That's fair to say, though. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think they're an absolute juggernaut anymore. Like whereby you think there's no way anyone's going to beat them anymore. Every day they go out, they're class, but it's going to take a class team to beat them. But they are beatable.
Yeah. Look, the reality is, well, Murph, they were missing Aaron Gillan. I saw the Sean on Twitter, who is, I believe, the pod god when it comes to his YouTube name, has said, do you think Cork win that game if Gillan is on and if Lynch doesn't get sent off? It is a little bit of my uncle and auntie and all that when it comes to that. He wasn't available, and Lynch foolishly got himself sent off, which didn't help them for the last 20 plus minutes of the game. But the reality is that when Gillan's not there, it changes the way that Limerick attack. Now, Peter Casey I thought was brilliant. Remember that point that he swung over from essentially the touchline? That was a beauty of a point. It's like, it wasn't like other lads didn't step up in their forward line. I actually thought rather than have been missing Gillan, Limerick's half forward line went out of the game a little bit more than I would have expected from them. Completely. And they, like that Cork half back line, we wondered about it. Geez, they won a lot of ball, didn't they, Murph, during the second half particularly? Yeah,
they did. There was great battles, individual battles. You couldn't say that, like, there was a lot of talk before the game, and I was listening to some of the build-up, and there were, people were questioning that once Limerick went at the Cork half back line, would they be found wanting maybe in the legs and different things like, Hegarty on Rob Downey or whatever it might be. And certainly there was different times, particularly in the first 10 or 15 minutes, you'd have to feel Limerick came out of the traps at an awful rate, and they were so sharp and they were snapping the ball around. And I was thinking, geez, this could really, again, this could be get away. It felt like the league final where it's like, this could get away from Cork. And it was almost a fair reflection of the league final where Limerick build up this bit of a lead, and who comes along? Brian Hayes, and gets a score. Like Brian Hayes' score, the first one he got, he was over on the sideline, near the 21, and pops it over the bar, and it just settled Cork a small bit. It did take him a while longer to come into it, but the half back line were really good. And I thought Mark Coleman as well, who sometimes, maybe people are a little bit hard on Mark Coleman for his defending because he's very good going forward and he's a very skillful player. But he had a great game today as well. And the two Downies as well, like their physicality is enormous there. And there were certainly times where Limerick had the upper hand. But then the Cork defence came out, and even after losing Kieran Joyce, which is, something we haven't even mentioned yet, like Damien Cahalane goes in, and in fairness, has a really steady game, so all those things thrown at Cork, you have to say that they reacted really well. And then when you say Cian Lynch is sent off, Cork used the spare man really well, which is sometimes we can be critical of teams that when they go the man up, they don't use the spare man, and they maybe drop off a small bit because they think, we have an extra man in the field, but they don't really utilise them. But there were several times after Lynch went off where Cork, you could just see where the free man was, and they were getting the head up, popping it to him and getting scores. Now, the other side of saying Limerick's credit was, even though you felt, okay, Cork are on top here, Cork are on top, you look at the scoreboard then, there was maybe only 2 points in it. There was never really any more than that. So it was, I think both teams, you have to give them credit in terms of how they reacted to the hands they were dealt, i.e. Cork, Joyce going off, early lead for Limerick, really kicking on. They get back into the game, they respond, and I have to give credit to Barry Walsh. Like, fair play to him. Like, he was one of the boys. A big moment for him, which I thought was really good, was he was going through. He sent a shimmy. I'm trying to see what minute it was in. I think it was around the 20th to 25th minute, maybe. He sends a shimmy and goes through, and he goes to bounce it on the ground, and the ball goes out behind him, and he falls over, and Limerick go up. Limerick put it over the bar. Aidan O'Connor puts it over the bar. The ball is pucked out, comes down. Barry Welch wins it, takes on Diarmuid Burns, actually, I think it was, or Will O'Donoghue, and wins a free. And Cork boys run over and pat him on the back. That's just one example of where I thought that each team had players that were standing up and responding. Both goalkeepers were really good as well. Nicky Quaid saves, vital. And when he made the save off Connolly, I think it was, we go down the far end then, and we have Patrick Collins makes an outstanding save. I actually can't remember who even took the shot on Patrick Collins. But there was so many players stood up and were counted. I think both teams can be really happy. I know the question there was, if Cian Lynch doesn't get sent off and Aaron Gillane, that's your lot. Aaron Gillane wasn't there today, and Cian Lynch deservedly was sent off. So that's the lot. If you look at it, you can say if Cian Lynch is on the field, it has effect. But a sending off is a game management thing. As in, if Cork lads are getting under your skin, and I don't know what the reasons were or why he swung back, but you'd have to maybe feel that there was a bit of niggle, because we saw Sean O'Donoghue going at the Bull O'Brien. We saw a few instances where there was obviously lads were going at each other in full-blooded good manner, I would call it. It was all in the spirit of the game. But if Cian Lynch kind of loses the head there, I think he'll be the first lad who's disappointed with it, because he's off now. He won't be there in Ennis. Cork or Limerick now lose down in Cork. They give a bit of ground back to Cork as well, and you can speak, what if. No, the hand you're dealt is the hand you're dealt, and Cork would be going ahead now. Hopefully, Kieran Joyce's injury isn't bad, but the hand Cork is dealt at the moment means it could be bad, and they now have to, as a Cahalane they put back in full back. Do you put Owen Downey back in? But that's their hand, and that's what they have to deal with. So I don't think it serves anyone any good to figure out, if Cian Lynch was on the field, Limerick would have won. No, at the end of the day, Cork are leaving Páirc Uí Chaoimh now with the 2 points, and that's the way the game played out. So I don't think it'll do you any good to say ifs and buts.
Yeah, to Louise's point there just a second ago, I think Rob Downey needs to get his flower scale for the first 2 games. I thought he was really good last week against Tipperary in Semple Stadium, and again today. He was not just kind of anchoring the defence in the way that he does from centre half back, but also when he gets moving forward, he is a useful shooter. He's very good at distributing the ball. Again, I don't know if they're quite getting to that balance quite in the half back line, but even when Owen Downey had a slip at one point, Rob Downey got back to get the hook. For me, Rob Downey's been one of their best players from these first 2 games.
He is, yeah. And I was asked at the league final, who was their player of the league, and even Rob Downey didn't play the whole league, but for me, he's Cork's talisman. Now, what I mean by that is he won't score too much for you, but he embodies everything you want from a Cork player of the past, if you know what I'm saying. So you remember Ronan Curran back in the day, Brian Cork and those players. They were very hard to get past from the sixth channel. And he feels like he's cut from the same cloth. And just for a point of note for the listeners, when you're out in the pitch, right, and there's 50,000 in the stand, you can't hear anything, right? So if I was talking to Murph now, if I was trying to shout Murph and he was 3 or 4 meters away from me and the crowd is in full blow, you can't hear them. No. So you depend an awful lot on your teammates' body language, and watching them. So like, there was an estimate there done actually a couple of years ago where they say 70% of your communication is body language in big games where you can't use verbal language, right? And if you watch Rob Downey, if you just turn off the sound and watch the way he carries himself, in tackles, when he's tackling, when he comes through with the ball, if he wins a free, everything about him is kind of pointing towards, I'm the man. You know what I mean? And I mean that graciously. I'm the man. I'm the focal point of our defence. Follow me. That kind of way. And like, if you add him and then go up the pitch and you say to yourself, Darragh Fitzgibbon, and there was questions here a couple of weeks ago about his best position, and I thought he was more influential at midfield. I'm wrong. The way he's been playing at wing forward, he's causing ferocious problems for opposition defenders on what to do from a structural perspective. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I go follow him up the pitch? Do I follow him laterally across? So what he's doing is indirectly distorting the opposition defence and then popping up for established scores. And you see the score he got today in the first half, 90 yards. The ones he can get them within 40 yards. They want to finish, So he's becoming, again, the forward leader talisman. We've always accustomed him with the midfield, but not the forward per se. And you'd have to say that Brian Hayes has been quiet in comparison to last year's form. So he hasn't hit the heights of last year, which is fine because his guys around him doing the same thing. He's ably supported now by Connolly and Buckley. Then you get Fitzgibbon in the mix. So there's just a different look about Cork at the moment. And this is gas because 3 weeks ago we were saying just the league was pretty poor and they could be out of the championship during 3 weeks' time. So what they've done, gathering themselves, after a tough loss in the league and producing 2 victories the way they've done it, you have to give great credit to them. Great credit, regardless of the opposition. And I don't want to hear circumstance. The sending off for players missing. Everyone's dealt a hand at some point. You just have to play the cards you're given. Cork have their own issues. They lost their full back after 4 minutes, which what looks like, to me, like a cruciate injury. I hate to say it, touch wood.
I know. Hopefully it's not a bad one, but you do look in a lot of pain, yeah.
Jeez, it looks like, when you see that kind of hyperextension and he goes down and he can't come off, you're saying to yourself, that doesn't look good, and for a tough unit like Jice. So you've lost your full back after 4 minutes. You're 6 points down. This is not good. So it takes a bit of bottle to do that and come back. And the bottle for me starts at your main positions. It starts in your 3, your 6, 8, 9, 11, 14. If you can't have it right up the middle, you're not going to get it right anywhere else. And so to back to your original question, Rob Downey, he is cut from the old cloth, like a Curran or like a Corcoran.
Yeah. By the way, before I bring in some comments from other places, because they're flying in from all sorts of directions right now, just take a moment for the viewers of this to take Skehill's new camera. I'm very impressed. His My Waddy is in high definition this week.
It's not the Wi-Fi, lads. We have the Wi-Fi correct now.
Right.
What, did you get a new camera?
Bought a new laptop, Murph.
Look at it.
Yeah. Honestly, I was sick of this kind of Blair Witch project.
Blair Witch project
situation. Yeah, I have the lights off now. I could have had fucking spotlights on me here last week, and you would be able to see me.
Fair play. That's commitment.
Don't see. You're great at the moment.
I originally thought that it was just the stretch in the evening, and the good light was coming through the window, and that was the reason why. And then I realised, actually, you know what? This camera is a massive step up.
Huge step up. And you know what? It's about time. Really. This is what, season 4, 5? I lose track of it at this stage.
Yeah, I don't know.
What season?
5 years. I think it's 5 years. I think it is 5 years, isn't it? 2021. We're in 26 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. We ended up being stuck into a WhatsApp group together, I'm pretty sure, in some point in 2021.
Interesting.
Yeah. All I know is that I basically got a message from Nathan Murphy at one point. He went, do you want to do a podcast with these 2 lads? And then one of the lads turned out not to be the lad who ended up in the podcast.
Big ass.
I presume Murphy, you know about this, don't you? I presume I can out him, can't I?
Murph was the enemy.
Oh, fair enough. Murph was away working with Wooly at the time.
You were on the dark side.
I misunderstood what you're saying there. Yeah.
You were tipping away, and I remember getting a graphic which had Taggy Fogarty and James Skehill, who were going to be the Hurling Pod once upon a time. I'm sure they exist somewhere in a folder at the back end of Off the Balls Teams folders. And it was all good to go. And then I think we were ready for podcast number 1. Then Taggy wasn't able to do it. And next thing, Paul Murphy came in. And next thing, I'm getting pelters on social media at one stage for, why have you stolen Paul Murphy from a rival podcast? I had no idea what was going on. So just in case anyone's wondering, I had nothing to do with the recruitment of either of these 2 men. The first time we met was in the three of us went into a WhatsApp group, and it was like, right, three, you go off there, do a podcast, play away with that, and see how you go.
The first time we met, we did about 40 episodes, and we met in Limerick. That was the first time we properly met. Well,
it was the first time we met, Murphy. The two of you sabotaged my stool. I got it on camera, you pair of pricks.
So, I had to plead with the security man to give me that, actually. Said, I won't send it anywhere, straight up into it.
Fucking camera, you all set up the two of you.
Oh, that was good.
Bring Offaly and Galway together, and this is what you get.
Indeed. I do like what the club has come up with here as well. I hope Off the Ball contributed. They did not. The two boys got a microphone at the start. And did we ever send you out headphones, no?
Does it look like you sent us headphones?
No headphones. I mean,
look at that, Joe.
These are from 2006.
I bought these myself.
My wife got these with an iPhone, I'd say, about 15 years ago.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I treat myself.
Hinge will. Just saying.
Well, the problem is, I see the football pod lads have them.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching Paddy Andrews sit down there when he's not on every other broadcast everywhere else at the same time. He looks like he's going to drop a sick beat. And similarly, I don't know what they've done. Like Jimmy O'Donoghue's got this really lovely background as well. It's all kind of white and blown out. It looks like he's in the studio as opposed to being at home.
Where?
No, maybe his whole house is just whitewashed, and therefore he's able to sit up against, at home. I'm here in the spare bedroom. That'll do. You two boys are sequestered in whatever rooms you can get away from your children and other halves at this stage to do this. So, like, I don't know. They've certainly got a very fancy setup. Obviously, Tommy Rooney's got access to funds that I just don't have.
Well, you may get the same access, my friend.
I know, I may find some way to find it. Well, look, now we've got a wonderful sponsor at Applegreen. Maybe we can get better headphones and we'll all look like DJs by the end of this. Before we go into more on the Cork Limerick one, and I do want to talk about the refereeing performance, which, again, I would agree with a few of our listeners who said it was really, really good. Also, because we've now gone off on a tangent where we talk about the fact that Taggy pulled out in the pod just before it was due to start and other bits and pieces, we also got a very nice email this week from Ed, and it is rare enough that emails come in, so usually when they come in I have a read of them. So, hey lads, long time listener of the Hurling Pod, wouldn't usually contact you, but I'm not on social media, so I hope an email's okay, of course. Will mentioned during today's show, which is last week's pod, some people just aren't liking the lighter content within the Hurling Pod. Well, they particularly didn't like the Premier League. The YouTube last week was literally, shut up about the Premier League. The Premier League does not lead promotion, as if we're promoting the Premier League on a Hurling Pod. But anyway,
absolutely.
He said, I just want to say I always enjoy it and I actually love when there's a bit of variety. If I wanted sanitized, boring analysis, I would just watch the Sunday game. Ouch, shots fired. I was also in a similar scenario to Skehill this year. I've got 3 daughters and our son was born in February. So it was interesting for me hearing the updates as we went along with the same situation. Literally, the birth was on the same week. Congrats on the young lad, but you can shove your anti-tip stuff up your hole. All the best.
It was going so lovely.
It was.
It was all going so well.
It was like, got this lovely email.
I think it's a very Hurling Pod email, in fairness.
Fair play to him. Yeah, no, it was well. And do you know what? He's allowed fire now shot as well. Fair play to him.
By the way, Tommy Walsh in San Francisco every week. I've no doubt he is. I'm sure it's
big
not his car.
49ers fan. That's what Tommy is as well.
Finds his way there every week and then manages to get back to Ireland each time as well. Mike McCarthy wasn't happy about the refereeing, as we see on Facebook there, from Waterford against Tipperary. But if we have a look at Colin McCarthy, who once upon a time brought us biscuits in Limerick. So I've always got time for Colin after that. What biscuits did he bring us, Skehill, as you recall? Was it a variety of things?
They were Kimberley, do you know the spongy kind of ones with the biscuit at the bottom with the marshmallow in the middle? Kimberleys, yeah. They were savage.
I remember he presented them, I was like, what's this come from?
They're divine, they're lovely.
We were eating them while Leo O'Connor was telling the stories. We were drinking pints of Guinness and eating Kimberley. Jeez, it was lovely. It was absolutely, and the sun beating down. It was
so bad. You wanted, my friend.
It was.
Yeah, that was good.
Then we went around to get chicken fillet rolls, and our friendship with Podge just blossomed. Okay, so Colin McCarthy said,
"Hang on, hold on a second. No, there's a comment there, right? Left hand on top 426.
Okay,
click it.
I told you not to worry about the comments.
Click it.
No, click it, please.
So this one here about not defending Lynch. No, further down. Hold on.
The last
here
bit.
we go.
Come on, jeez.
Right, go on.
Not that one. Not that one. Go up again.
Right, this one.
That one.
Okay, go on.
Did you see the replay? He got not once but 2 dunks in the balls. Like, sorry, I shouldn't say that in the private area.
I saw other people claim they hit him in the thigh. By the way, it's irrelevant whether he hits him in the thigh or hits him in the balls. Like, it's a striking offence. Yeah. And so if it's dangerous use to Hurley, it's a red card.
And like I'm not questioning the red card. We're big fans of Kim Lynch in this podcast. Like, we've revered his performance. Like, but what he did there, hitting twice in the midriff area, I can't stand for it. Like, you know. And I'm not saying, regardless of how man he is perceived to go down well, he goes down. And for me, having that injury during the year, getting 2 knocks there, oh God, no, that's let's just rule that out straight away. I'm not even going to entertain that a person goes down easy. And I will say, if some lads did go down easy today for other in other situations, but not that one. We cannot say that one.
Yeah, I actually made a note at one stage. I know, Will, you're probably going to mention Sean Donoghue and Shane O'Brien, where Sean Donoghue took the shot. Now, in fairness, didn't make a meal of it, but went down. It was like, it wasn't he going to hold himself. I actually made a note before any of that happened. 18th minute, Owen Downey hits Kyle Hayes a dig in the stomach. No, a kind of a fist. He just hits him a kind of a shot. They're squaring up to each other. And Kyle Hayes doesn't flinch. And I actually made a note of it because it was like, as far as I'm concerned, the note I made, I said was nothing wrong with it. But Hayes just stayed up and just stayed squaring up to him. And I was like, for all the weeks we're talking about lads hitting the deck and different things, it was like fair play to Kyle Hayes there that, Downey hit him and the two boys were squaring. It was manly stuff, grand, and he didn't go down. I was like, well, we talk about the examples where lads will hit the deck enough, whereas like that's good stuff there. So it's interesting then that Sean Donoghue and Shane O'Brien kind of that took a little bit of the attention then, but that was a note I made. 18th minute, I thought it was, and Kyle Hayes took a fair tackle before it as well. So I was like, he got up, free out, and he just got on with it. Like,
he is a tough fucker, isn't he?
Gosh, of course, yeah.
Jeez, Kyle Hayes is a tough one. As toughness goes, he takes some belts every game, and he just keeps powering through. Like how that man keeps going for 70 minutes at the pace he does up and down the pitch is awesome. Like he takes some bit. And look, I know a lot in today's game they all do. But like he is a machine of machines, that guy. I think in terms of fitness and power and the punishment he can take, he's at the top. And as I said, Murph, I've never seen him go down. I've never seen him actually on the ground go down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's always there, standing up, willing to take the punishment and keep moving forward. Top class. And I will say the O'Donoghue O'Brien one. I do think that was a bit over the top in terms of going down. But I can't stand for the one where Lynch, and I love Lynch. I really do. Like I love Limerick as a whole. But that stroke, not once but twice. Like no. Not having it, lads. So, parked.
Fair enough. I'll get to Colin's point now in a second because I promise he's just talking around his point, which we'll go to somewhere in a sec. Just last week, because we talked about this on the members pod, but maybe some people aren't members, maybe didn't watch the members pod last week, which is a good hour 20 long, where we made up for not having one the week before. So we did a kind of a double members pod last week. We talked about the Adam Hogan situation with Stephen Bennett from the week before, because that came up quite a bit in the comments on the YouTube last week. The main reason I hadn't brought it up was because at the time, I noticed Adam Hogan got off the pitch for about 7 minutes. And I saw people having arguments with each other. It was like, oh, Hogan, boy who cries wolf and all this type of stuff. And even before I saw the picture of blood trickling down behind his helmet, you knew by Stephen Bennett's reaction that he wasn't actually play acting. Because Stephen Bennett straight away realised I've actually tipped him here. Didn't mean it. I was trying to shake off my marker. My eyes were on the ball. I ended up hitting him. And the reality is that he went off, Lean came on for him, and then Hogan came back on. For me, that's not play acting. If you're play acting, you go down, you get back up as quickly as possible, and you're straight back in the pitch. It never actually occurred to me last week. But I just saw people were having a go at each other in the comments over and over about it as well. So anyway, that just puts that there. So, Colin's point, before I lose it, credit where it's due. James Owens was excellent today. He tried to let the game flow. I don't recall any contentious calls, really. Red was spot on, to be fair. That's the Lynch one. We're quick to slate them when they have an off day, so we should give him his flowers for the way he did today. I think a few people said that, Murph. I thought there was actually a really good flow to that game. And a game with a bit of bite in it too.
The one thing you have to say about the likes of a Tipp Limerick game, like that game is a standalone. The referees are already on the back foot trying to ref that one, because when it's played with such intensity and it's played with such passion, it's a tough one. It's so tough. Yeah. Like you go back and I'm thinking about Thomas Walsh reffing the Munster final last year in the Gaelic grounds, and he went off a cramp, and I think actually James Owens came on and he had a mighty game again that time. Like as a neutral, you can really look at these things and go, yeah, that was good. Like James Owens was starting on the back foot there today, being realistic. And I do you know what? The big calls, he got them right as far as I'm concerned. I'm trying to think of calls where I'm like, no, that was actually wrong. I'm looking at my notes and I don't actually have anything there. And like even the one with Mike Casey, on initial looking at that when he shouldered Kingston, I thought that was actually going to be a red from initially. And then when I saw the replay, I was like, oh no, he didn't actually hit him in the head. Because I was just looking for the head contact. Oh, he didn't actually hit him in the head. And he actually, in fairness to Owens, he took a second to stand back and go, maybe he spoke to lads. The cameras didn't show that, but he got it right with a yellow. And I know the Cork people were booing and stuff, and maybe they were just trying to put pressure on him. But in real time, I went, oh, Casey's in bother here. And then when I saw the replay, which Owens couldn't see, I was thinking, right, actually, that's a yellow. And he did give him a yellow in the end. But in real time, which is the only time that these lads have to look at it, I was like, that's going to be a tough call now for Owens. But yeah, like I said, they start off on the back foot, and I thought he had a good game. In fairness to it, he contributed to it. He didn't get any decisions wrong, and like he dealt with O'Donoghue and Shane O'Brien really well. Kind of just took the sting out of it, calmed it down. 2 yellows, and we saw no more of it after that. Like the yellow for Nicky Quaid, okay, maybe Nicky Quaid was a little bit hard done by an Alan Connolly, and no, Connolly got a slap on the head. But I think it was more Nicky Quaid making himself big to block the ball, and Connolly's coming at him. So I think that one you could maybe, but that's nitpicking. Like, that's not stuff where you really condemn a referee for. So
is it fair to say it's probably his best game we've seen?
I would say so, certainly, because that's a tough game. That's a very tough game, and like when you come away from it like that, I would say that's definitely one of James Owens' best games in a while. Yeah. And like, that's a complimentary thing. That's not saying that the standard was low before that. That was, if you come away from a match like that and a referee has contributed to it as opposed to just maybe either breaking even or taking away from it, that's a good performance. And not simple. Not simple when the whole place is shouting at you.
Yeah, I think as well, Murphy, say, I think from an experience perspective, he's using his noggin in the sense that some of the tackles we see today are even, collisions, they're not frees. And I think some of the newer refs we've seen are probably blown a bit too soft for some of the physical elements we see in games. And we've grown accustomed to in inter-county games over the last number of years. And we love the physical element, right? And there was points today where he'd say, that could be a free going off what other referees had done in the weeks previous, but he let it go. And it just catered to a great spectacle. Like when you do that, I think when you do that and you keep, fluidity in the game, the crowd get right behind you and they get a chance to keep getting into the game. And the more the crowd are in the game, the better the game is for us as a spectator. Even watching the game, let's say behind the television, listen to the decibel level in Páirc Uí Chaoimh being so high, you feel like you're there. If that game keeps stopping and starting and stopping, I think in the first 2 minutes I was saying, has anybody got a free here?
Yeah.
Connor get one free and Connor get one free, and we didn't care. We don't want the referee to be the spectacle. Obviously blow with the frees, of course. And I agree with you on the Nicky Quaid one as well. I think that was just a genuine play. That probably just a touch in too far. We've all been there, and I think yellow card is deserved, to be fair.
Okay,
But across the board, and I agree with you as well. Like on the one where was it by Casey? I thought it was a red myself in first viewing. Yeah, and we get the benefit of a replay. It slowed down, and he said, "Geez, that's captured brilliantly." And I've been a critic here of James Owens in the past. I certainly have some of his decisions that he's done taken upon himself. But today I thought he was fantastic. I think it was the refereeing performance of the weekend, to be fair.
Okay. Skehill is now covered. I think Declan Horkin was one of the people who had the comment up there saying that possibly Limerick could have had 3 red cards. Skehill's on all the incidents there, one after another before we even needed to get into them. Donald Cronin's point here, not so much the Rob Downey part of it, but the Declan Dalton part. He's in part of the wider panel for the game so far. As far as I gather, he's not injured. You called this, Skehill. You thought he was going to not really be part of the plan for Ben O'Connor this season.
When I say I called him, and I say I call, even my brother-in-law asked me today, how do you know someone in the Cork class? It's just because I've seen them underage. Like 5 years underage ago, you see all the minors and 20s coming through. You see the Walshes and the Buckleys and the Jim Healy's, and you know what they have coming through. And you say what has been done. And I know they say the definition of insanity. You keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. But in this instance, Cork had to change something. They need to bring in some youthful exuberance, and they've done that in abundance, I think, over this year. So when I was looking at the team, no, I didn't say hands up. I didn't think Harley would be on the team straight up. I thought he'd still be a vital cog in their wheel. But when you see, like I said, Murph, the influence of Walsh and Buckley, and then you bring in the other Walsh and O'Connor, and then you bring in Flynn and Healy, you'll say it's hard for me to see where that Declan Dalton as a forward comes in. I just can't see it anymore. Tim O'Mahony has taken up the long range free duties as Rob Donnelly further back. Darfus given Alan Connolly up the front, and you're saying what's his purpose? And we know Dalton's not blessed with the best of pace. Still an aberrant player for Cork, but if Cork are going levels above, they would serve them better, in my opinion, to put time into the Healys, the Buckleys, and the Walshes for more of this year because they get more at the back end. Fair to say, Murphy, is that fair?
Yeah, no, that's 100%. I actually, one of the things I was thinking as well was that, like, I thought Dalton would start this year because it was like he's been really, he's had a few really good years there, and I'm thinking particularly the semi-final against Limerick in 24. I thought he was brilliant that day. But when I actually looked at today, there was 2 things that dawned on me. One of them was you asked a question a couple of weeks ago where you were like, if you were called back in to Kilkenny, would you go? Like, isn't hypothetically joking, And I was looking today, I was going, Jesus Christ, the speed these ways are playing at. Not like I explode after like 10 or 15 minutes, in terms of Cork and Limerick. But then I also dawned on me then as well. I was like, is this the style that Ben O'Connor wants, where it's just like lightning pace from, let's say, 8 to 15? Like, all those boys can move. And I'm not saying that Rob Downey and Owen Downey can't, but they're a bit more of an anchor, physicality. You're not right now. We've seen what Rob Downey can do. He scored a goal against Clare in the All-Ireland final in 24, where he got the ball at wing back and ran straight down the middle. But the type of player that I think Ben O'Connor likes is lightning off the shoulder, really fast, snappy hands. Like, look at Tommy O'Connell. He's been one of the best players that Cork have had this year. He's been brilliant. And I think it's because he suits the role of the type of player that Ben O'Connor wants in the team. And that's facilitated his style of play, which is just covering ground, electric, getting on ball, popping it off, and direct. Yeah. Direct. So when I look at that from 9 to 15, and I go, I don't know, lads might go, well, is Alan Connolly, is Brian Hayes? It's like, well, look, what they might, like, if Barry Walsh is faster than Brian Hayes is a man mountain. And what he may, not to say lacking speed, the man is fast. He's a big man that's very hard to try and stop once he gets running. It's like Gearóid Hegarty. Gearóid Hegarty is obviously fast, but it's the fact that he's such a big unit trying to slow him down. So I think Ben O'Connor has had the luxury of going, which of these players suit the type of really fast game I'm trying to play, and can do it for 70 minutes. And when you look at it, you go, yeah, this kind of makes sense that these are the lads he's landed on.
No, 100%. Where is it going there? Now I get lost in seeing this coming down scales on form tonight. He really is. It was the fact that a lot of people have already stuck in the Antrim thing, which I kind of fully expected. And Gearóid Óg, I'm pretty sure, tweeted me about this as well.
No, Grace, shout out to Grace. I'm not allowed to talk about Antrim. No. It brings shame on the family's name when I talk about Antrim.
I just enjoyed this. Gearóid Óg was like, Skehill, what do you think about Antrim over these last couple of seasons?
No comment. That's your worth. I'm not going to do it.
Are you actually not going to touch it, no?
What? Touch it?
Like, you've been there, because again I'm looking at Twitter where I just kind of sent the nervous monkey response is what I put when Gearóid tweeted me about it as well to get your thoughts. It was like, Skehill must be getting ready to kind of dig in on Davy and whatever else. I don't think you take any enjoyment from what's happening to Antrim right now.
Not at all. We take pride in having Antrim as I would say a focal point of hurling in the north. Like, you need it. We need it. And we're always talking about how we want to spread the game nationally, and we want that kind of hurling infection disease to spread more around Ulster so the game gets stronger. So we said last year, and you remember this greatly, the writing was on the wall for us. It was like we were disappointed in performance, and I keep going back to that performance, Will, where we watched Antrim against Offaly and Tullamore. Do you remember that day?
But the league game, they were horrific.
Yeah, what was that? That was the start. I was thinking, what is that? He thought, you know what? They'll correct it. They'll get better as the championship, when they start playing better opposition. Not the case. Then you start hearing stories coming out of Antrim, and sometimes there's no smoke without firewood. Sometimes you hear these stories and you're saying you're not putting yourself in the best position for Antrim to thrive. Whether that's relations with the board, players, logistical decisions, training ground venues, etc. You're like, it just seems to me that they're not in the position to thrive. You know what I mean? Haven't spoken to my client James. I've advised him. Sorry, Grace. I actually got caught. Shit, I'm not talking about Antrim. Look, I would say, and I finish. Come here. This is the Hurling Pod, right? It's disappointing to see Antrim's somewhat demise. Now they have, they got up great ground, and the thing is, if you rewind back to before Dan Gleeson took over, Antrim were in a tough position. Then Dan Gleeson comes in, he kind of reignites the passion in the county. They start getting some good results. There's a bit of traction behind them. People start to notice them nationally. Their home place becomes a bit of a fortress, and you're going, this is, and then you start hearing good things coming out of Antrim. And this you're saying, this is lovely, this is great, this is better for the game. The more teams we get involved at the top level, the better. Then Gleeson obviously goes. Next man comes in, you're saying, right, all you have to do is keep the fucking thing going. Just keep it going, right? Add a bit more to it. And fuck me. Just, you only let the air out of a balloon. That's it. You know what I mean? You're saying, Jesus. And it's so disappointing. And I watched Neil McManus's interview, was it last week or the week previous? And he just looked like a really hurt, broken man. And you feel for it. If you were in his position and your county was in the same position, you'd say, fuck, this is so gut-wrenching, because trying to get that back on a forward plane again is so difficult, especially in today's game when teams are putting so much into it and the gap just gets wider and wider and wider. So two losses in a row. I actually asked last night, are they out? Mathematically, I presume not, Will.
No, they've still finished third, but they're massively up against it, because obviously they've lost now to Down, who've got 2 wins from 2 already. Leash have got 1 win from 2. Carlow have got 2 wins already. So Carlow are in kind of pole position to top the group, but you will have a semi-final between second and third. So they could still finish third, but yeah, I mean, look, they're up against it. I mean, it's like 2 poor results from the start. It's not that you're going away from home against Leash was one that you would have necessarily expected Antrim to win, but for a team who've come straight down from the Leinster Championship last year, to start with 2 defeats like this is a really, really poor start. And look, I think the one thing about Davy from here, and I wasn't actually trying to wind you up, because everyone's going, he's just going to go have a go at Davy, and this is going to be box office, this is going to have a go at Davy, yada, 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 is that like, I don't know if Davy can still play this is a 3-year project, or this is going to take 4 years, this is going to take whatever. By no discernible metrics here, Murph, could you argue that Antrim have progressed in the last season and a half? You couldn't.
No, you couldn't. Yeah, look, it's just they're in a tough position. You're looking kind of week on week just to see is there any sort of a flicker as well. And like, to be fair, like, you know, Laois are dead set on trying to win that Joe McDonagh. Obviously, getting to the final last year, Kildare put in a huge performance. You know, Picky Maher had an outstanding performance there yesterday. I think he got about 13 points as well. So it was always going to be a tough challenge against Laois, and as well down in Port Laois as well, which is not simple as well. But
yeah,
certainly if you're saying, look, we're coming out of this Joe McDonagh, we're coming straight back up. The Down loss was, you know, they were forewarned about Down a couple of weeks ago, and Down have very deservedly won 2 matches in a row against Antrim now. Now Laois have put up a big score on them. Well, let's say big score, was at 7 points in the end, but like, you know, certainly it wasn't in any doubt. So now it isn't that uphill challenge, and that uphill challenge looks like, I mean, you're going to play Carlow. They bet Carlow up in Antrim there a couple of weeks ago, if I'm correct in saying. I think that was one of the matches that they put in an actually really good performance. Fairly sure that was one of their stronger ones. But at the same time, Carlow look like they're going really well at the moment. So it does look like a big task for them. You can't say, like under Darren Gleeson there, they took some big scalps. They bet Clare up in Corrigan Park. They had a few really good results.
So they should beat London. They should. But the thing is, are they going to beat Carlow and Westmeath, who they probably will need to beat if they're going to finish top 3? Right now, I'd say odds against. And there is always that point as well that a team can get sucked into this. So Antrim have had a pretty miserable campaign. They could end up fighting to not drop down to the Christy Ring yet. Because they're behind Down and head-to-head already.
But you're saying as well, like, you know, they should beat London. Like, Down beat London by 6 points. You know, 6 points, if you were looking to try and gauge the team you're about to play next based off a team that maybe you played previously, and 6 points doesn't tell you a whole lot. Like, if Down went out and bet London by 20 points, you're going, well, we should beat London. On a given day, London could beat Antrim. You know, 6 points is nothing to turn around it. So I would say at this moment, based on form, when you're maybe lacking that bit of momentum, maybe there's a bit of, I don't know, the belief is you know, there's a bit of a vacuum there in the belief space. Like, you out and you play London, and London smell a bit of blood and you're 10 minutes to go, and you're like, there's only a puck of the ball in this. That could get very cagey. So when a team isn't showing form, it's very hard to go without any level of doubt to say they're definitely going to win this game when there might only be a puck of the ball in it. You know,
Murph, if you look at the scores, Murph, right, yesterday, now all I had was the benefit of the score below. And on 55 minutes, they were up by a point. 20 points to 116. And then Laois score, 1-7 to 2 points. So if you're, like you're saying, if you're London and you're down, you're up the ball, you're in the mix, and 50 minutes to go, this is coming back into Antrim's minds again, lads. You know, look what happened last week. we're up by 1, and we ended up losing by what?
Lost by 2 in the end. Was it 2?
7, right? Was it not? 6, 7? 6?
Which is Down win? No, Down 1 by 2 against Antrim.
I'm saying Laois beating Antrim yesterday. 7.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
7, sorry.
7. Yeah. So the point being is, like, if it's in the mix, you know, between 15 minutes to go, that's when it gets hairy.
Yeah.
Like, every game takes life itself when you get him the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Those Joe McDonagh Cup results, by the way, before we move on to Leinster Championship from the weekend just gone by. Westmeath losing out to Carlow at home, a score fest, but Carlow also, I think it's 17 wides during the game as well. No great surprise, Marty Kavanagh, top scorer for Carlow, 1-8, as Carlow won by 420 to 123 against Westmeath. It was the first ever Hurling Camogie Championship doubleheader there. The Camogie team, Westmeath, won the first game, but Carlow won the second game. Laois against Antrim, as mentioned by the lads, Picky Maher, a very fine installer of kitchens in the Murphy household with 13 points. It's actually really good to see Picky back. Last year he missed nearly all the year with injury. I think he only got back with Cluck Balacolla like county final time last season, so he missed nearly the whole year. Didn't know if he was going to back in with Laois. He said to me 2 years ago he was done. But 223 to 22 points. Down against London, as mentioned by the lads, it was Cathal Coleman who got 1-3 for Down in this one. Dai Sands with the other goal, and they overcame last year's Christy Ring winners by 223 to 217. The games in the Christy Ring at the weekend, Kerry, as we kind of expected, are looking good for a quick return to the Joe McDonagh Cup. Pádraic Boyle with a hat-trick as they won away from home against Roscommon, 422 to 118. 3 wins from 3 for Kerry. They've got the break coming up next. Derry beat their neighbours Donegal, 223 to 116. That was on Celtic Park, and I saw pictures from it. The soccer markings were still on there from the first League of Ireland game that was played just a few hours before, really. And then we had Meath winning again today. They're unbeaten so far, 224 to Wicklow's 119. So they were the results from the Christy Ring. All right, Kilkenny then, Murph, because last week we went hard on you last week. You know, we have a super chat, by the way, which we'll have to get back to in a second. They're very rare we get a super chat. You don't need to send a super chat.
What is
I'll
a
read them
super
out for
chat?
free. Super chat's when someone makes a donation to you.
No way.
Yeah, we're not going to see it, but
Why?
there it is there now. Jamie Flood, great podcast as always. Big fan from Dublin. He's not
Why
Big
did
Tom,
you
he's Big fan.
Why did you do that?
I don't know. Maybe he wants to send you the price of a pint scale.
Jeez, we go a bit further. You wouldn't even get up to the Guinness line with
You
that.
wouldn't even get a half pint for that. But still, I do appreciate that they've done that. It will go into the machine that is off the ball, which I don't know if it'll end up kick back to us at some point. But don't do super chats. You can ask us for free. We kind of we're scanning through them as we go through them here. But thank you for getting in contact. Kilkenny then, we were very, very hard last time round. His contribution skills laptop.
Exactly. We weren't that hard at all.
I thought people were quite hard on him because they were trying to argue, and the only reason he's brought up Arsenal is because he doesn't want to talk about Kilkenny, and then he ended
That
up
was
talking
hard.
about.
That was hard.
I know, but the funny part was you ended up talking about Kilkenny for a considerable period of time. I would say at least 9 or 10 minutes around Kilkenny.
We just didn't do like Eric Cantona and the Wimbledon fan straight away, just going studs up from the start. Because I think what did we talk about last week was a Tipp and Cork first, which I think was probably the natural one. I don't think we started Galway Kilkenny. I think we started Munster, Waterford, Clare, whatever. Anyway, but we obviously got back to it and obviously talked loads about it. So
Rush Lad, who is a Dublin fan, who will often pop up in our old comments, and he's here live tonight. Wexford were atrocious. That was very much the feeling I got from two Wexford friends of mine who texted me after the game as well. They were really disappointed. And I think that's because, Murph, they were going there, obviously having beaten Kildare, maybe not having shot the lights out, but still did enough. And then it's like, the record's really good against Kilkenny. You were bringing it up last week, only 3 wins against Galway and Wexford in the round robin. Had beaten Kilkenny 3 times recently in the championship. And hope springs eternal that Kilkenny, maybe there's a bit of blood in the water with the way they played against Galway. But before we talk about how good Kilkenny were, Wexford weren't good.
No, they weren't. But like one of the things that I thought for myself was that after about 40 minutes, I think it was about 114 to 110, it wasn't very high scoring for about that 40 minutes. Like Kilkenny really put their foot in the gas after that. Like once Lee Moore kind of got the goal, and they started popping over a few points, then like the goals, like 4 goals in the second half, like that kind of says itself. The dam burst really for Wexford. But yeah, like when Wexford got their goal, like Mossy Keown gets the goal, and then was it Simon Roach, I think, got the goal or Kevin Foley got the goal for Wexford.
Foley, wasn't it?
Foley, yeah. Kevin Foley got the goal. Straight away you're thinking going in at half time, you're like, well, in fairness now, they might come out in the second half and there's only a score in this. Wexford might really go at them. And that's kind of what we spoke about, the build-up we expected Wexford to do. They just didn't seem to have that kick in them. Now, from a Kilkenny point of view, something I was really happy with was that Kilkenny seemed to have much better structure than they did against Galway, in that like Lee Chin at full forward, well, I can see the lens though.
Don't worry, I'm not actually trying to make money out of this, but go on.
Lee Chin at full forward was matched up with Mike Carey. And straight away they're saying, well, if Wexford are to go and win this match, Lee Chin has to dominate that area and Mikey Carey has to lose out. Mikey Carey had a great game on Lee Chin, but regardless, Mikey, for a few balls that Lee Chin had to win, Mikey was just breaking him, and the cavalry were coming running back. So Paddy Deegan was coming running back, Dara Corcoran, Liam Blanchfield. They did that really, really well. And it was something you could see deliberately, that once the ball was going over their head, they were tracking back hard. Once they had that platform, they worked it out really well. So it was kind of a double-edged sword where you're really happy that, and I spoke to a few Kilkenny fans afterwards, like walking back to the car, you were chatting to people, and they're really heartened by the big score and the 5 goals. Like, because when teams kind of aren't getting goals, you're going, are we able to get a goal, or what's the story? And the 5 goals kind of came differently. They were all a little bit different to the next. Like the edge attrition, Mossy's goal was outstanding. Like the catch hits the deck, up, takes on, could have popped it off to Liam Moore, hits the back of the net. Liam Moore's one then to start the second half, which really again gave Kilkenny, I think they pushed it out to about 7 points at that stage. It was a poacher's one. He waited for the ball to come in, ball broke, pull on the ground, great goal. And then you have like Tom Phelan. Tom won the ball out at the 45 near the sideline, could have went for a score and decides to take on the Wexford defence. Kenny's off the shoulder, pops it to him, another goal. Like, what's his name? Paddy Deegan picked out TJ for a great score then as well in terms of the goal, squared it across. So the goals, the variety was different, but there was two things at play. Once Kilkenny got the few goals and they got the scores, Wexford did collapse, and you could see that they just didn't have the lads to maybe come in off the bench and to keep up with the pace. So it was a performance that was needed from a Kilkenny point of view, because if they barely kind of tripped over the line there yesterday, and Wexford, from what we saw, weren't good. And I saw Keith Roster's interview afterwards. Like, he was obviously very disheartened by the whole performance. Like, he's really disappointed, and you could just tell that it's like, there wasn't a lot to take from it. But Kilkenny at the same time could only play what was in front of them, and they performed really well. So, look, I just think that we were deservedly hard on them last week, because I think they would have been hard on themselves. You couldn't hang your coat on the Galway performance last week, never mind the one 6 weeks ago. So to come out and be convincing winners and put up a big score on Wexford, that's a good thing. And so going forward for the next games, like, they'll carry that bit of confidence now into the next few games, as opposed to maybe going, Jesus, have we improved any amount from the Galway match? And potentially now, like, if they are to continue on, and Dublin have a lot to say about it, and we see from Offaly as well. Like, I mean, Offaly were well in touch with Galway up in Pearse Stadium. I think the Kilkenny-Offaly match will be an interesting one as well, because Offaly have got renewed kind of vigour from the Dublin performance in Tullamore, and I think they're looking to have a pop at any team. And I think if Offaly were in the same position Wexford were yesterday, I think Offaly see out that game a lot better than Wexford. Like, who's to know what the result would have been? But I think they would have made life a lot harder for them, which is something we maybe weren't predicting at the start of this championship, that with all the injuries for Offaly, that they might be posing a threat. Whereas we thought Wexford will have enough, and maybe they'll take the third spot. At the moment, it's looking tough for Wexford. That will they take third spot? Playing Dublin. Dublin look much the better team at the moment. So there's a good few things, but I'd be disappointed if I was a Wexford fan, because coming to Nolan Park or Kilkenny going to Wexford Park, traditionally that's a big performance, and when that doesn't happen and it's round 2, you're thinking, okay, where are the performances going to come from after this?
When you do that buttering up, my first thought is, I don't think Offaly have beaten Kilkenny in the Leinster Championship since the final in 1995. I think their last championship win was the All-Ireland final in 1998. And since then, it's been one-way traffic. So I want to believe, but at the same time...
Records are there to be broke, Will.
Indeed. So some people are saying that Aidan Tallis had a sickness at the weekend. One thing I did notice, and this is again the goalkeeper angle for you on this one, Skehill, that TJ Reid, when he was speaking after the game, was quick to point out about what Owen Murphy had brought back to the team and the way he was playing out the ball and whatever else. Murphy was really good. Does he now take over the position of Tallis again, even if it is Tallis being ill that puts him back in?
I see, even some of the commentary I listened to today, let's say in my own house, we had visitors over, and they were saying the fact that Ling took Owen Murphy out of the goals was a crazy decision. And like, for me, my perspective is, I'm not training. I don't see what Aidan Tallis has brought, like, in the training field. I don't see what plans Ling has in terms of a game plan, or what he thinks Tallis can bring to Kilkenny's game plan. So for me, I'm siding with the manager, in that instance, because sometimes, like, you can get guilty of looking at the form of players in the past, and that they dictate if they play in the future. Now look come here. I said all that. Owen Murphy's top class. He was brilliant yesterday. There's no doubt about it, right? He's fantastic. But I have to put value on the fact that Ling put Tallis in for a reason. So I'm putting that over here. I'm stating that for an asterisk beside that, right? And I don't want that to be done to the young lad either. Obviously he's a hard task in the sense that he's got to try and unseat Owen Murphy, which is it's going to be probably one of the most difficult jobs to do in hurling. And he did it, right? So I just don't want the public to turn around and bash him, and say he shouldn't be in there. Like, he deserved to get in there for some reason. And the reason he's in there is because the manager saw something in it, right? So from my perspective, I think the Kilkenny have 2 good goalies, probably 3 good goalies at this point. And like, just from my perspective, it's Murphy and the short game, short puckouts. Today's type of game, I think, is very important. Like, he's top class shot stopper, top class from open play, the 30 to 60 range puckouts that you need to launch attacks when teams set up really well at the back from you. That was the only thing I had. That's the only thing I had, right? And maybe from Tallis' perspective, he showed a bit better in the league and at the point at which the championship begun. That's all. And I'd say, even Murph, your perspective, you're probably good friends with Owen Murphy, top class fella, top class goalie, but just there's a reason Tallis is put in. And so I'm saying, don't use that against Tallis. Don't do that. Like, Owen's back in. Is there a chance Tallis gets back in? Probably a bit less now at the moment, right? Because now there's, like, not even opinion, but there's a bit of sway behind the way Owen played yesterday. Played really well. Kilkenny got a victory. That's the most important thing. Now you keep going. If you change the mix, you change the formula from a defeat, and you get a victory, you keep going with that formula then after that. Like, look, again, I want to reiterate the fact that Tallis is top class goalie, and probably is the future for Kilkenny when the time comes, like in the long term. But for the minute, it looks like the Owen's going to keep the space.
Yeah, like my understanding of it was that exactly that. Like Owen had a quad injury there a couple of weeks ago, maybe go back 5 or 6 weeks ago, and so maybe if any opportunity where they were going to do Talis one week and maybe Owen the following week to have a look and see, well, you know, who's bringing the most to, like the puckouts is a huge thing at the moment. So whatever with shot stopping, both of them are great shot stoppers, but it's the puckouts and it's the controlling the full back line and talking to lads and all that communication space. Aidan Tallis, like he is an outstanding goalkeeper and he's really good. One of the things where, like, I remember back in 2014 up in Tullamore, we played Skehill in the first match and Owen got injured in the first match and David Herity come on. Like, people forget that goalkeeper is like every other position in that, and no more than yourself and Callan for ages, whereas like you seesaw. And when you have two good goalkeepers, you're thinking, and we look at Tipperary have been doing it, Reid Shelley, Hogan, another week, whatever it's going to be, and you move lads around. But when I look at like last night, for example, and the other thing, you have to understand is that if you are sick or you're injured and you don't play, the possibility of the other fella really putting a hand on the jersey is very much real, particularly when you're playing championship. And one of the things I saw last night, and again, it's absolutely not like, obviously I know Owen much more than Aidan Tallis. It's not a case of me going, geez, I hope Owen's in the goal from now on. I hope the best keeper's in the goal from now on. That's the way I look at it. But something that Owen brought to the game last night, which was really, I suppose, really evident, was it doesn't come up in the cameras. You know, a ball goes in, it goes wide, it goes whatever, and you just see the replay if you're watching on telly. But if you're at the game, the ball would go and it go out wide, and Owen would be looking up the field as he's going over to get a ball. He usually got the ball that hit the net behind the goal, and that was coming back onto the field, and he'd walk over and get it. And while he was getting it, he was looking up the field, and you could see him pointing at the half forward and like saying, literally, you know, get out, go over there. And if your man did move, he'd rise the ball and he was taking his time and he'd be pointing at the half back, move across this way, and then bang, a really good puck out where Kilkenny established possession around midfield, maybe on the half back line. And I was like, that's really solid play. And then also another thing that was evident in the second half was Wexford were striking balls in. Kilkenny would win the ball, and then in the full back line, they would spray it across to the far side of the full back line and work that channel. And it was usually Owen picking it up, and he'd have David Blanchfield or Mikey Butler ran up the sideline 3 times to try and get points. Yeah. But Owen ran up the field with them and was going, I'll draw the man and I'll pop it off to you and you keep going. And those small things, they're a huge platform for a team going forward. So Aidan Tallis may come back in, but on Owen's performance last night, he brought a great calmness to it. So Aidan Tallis will be looking at it now going, nobody plans to get sick. This was very tough that I wasn't playing. However, one of the best goalkeepers, generational goalkeeper, is going to get his chance to play. He's obviously going to play well. And that's just the nature of it. And I fully agree with Skehill. I think Aidan Tallis, Jim Galway is there as well. Jim Galway is top class goalkeeper as well. But one of these lads will take over from Owen Murphy. And you know, you have to do your time. You have to roll with the punches. And maybe Owen might get back in now. But I'd agree with you. I just go with the manager. They see more of it. And I'm just going, whoever they pick, they pick. Yeah.
We'll see in 2 weeks' time when they go and play Offaly. I can never resist the question that ends with, happy for Skehill to call me out. So Tomas Tiernan is a Tipperary fan, and this is goalkeeper adjacent, so I said to bring it up at the same time. So, were you doing the Tipp song there?
I was, yeah.
You fall in love with your...
But I didn't finish it.
Right, okay. I don't think there is a finish to it. I think it just goes...
There's a
does not
phrase
just go tip, 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 tip forever, no?
There's a phrase that we used in Galway at the end of it.
Right,
and everyone knows it.
Fair enough. Let's leave that one out. Part one of the question.
You got fair sunburned. Sorry.
He did.
You got fair sunburn, Murph.
Man, I had the Factor 50. I have a little tub of Factor 50 and I bring it with me, but it doesn't stop me getting burnt. Like, I will.
Put it on your arse, not your face.
That's what I'm doing wrong, so. That's what I'm doing wrong. No, I'm actually not burnt. I'd say I'm just red in the face. Maybe I'm burnt. Maybe I am.
Yeah, it'll all brown off nicely. It'll be a nice summer farmer's tan.
Hi, William.
Sorry now, Skehill. So, Thomas Tiernan is a Tipperary fan. Question 1. Was Billy Nolan too far off his line for the penalty?
The answer is yes, yeah.
Okay. See, there's your honest answer. McCarthy didn't strike it well, though, but yeah, he was stepping off his line. Anyway.
Both penalties, the 21 today for Burns and the penalty for Tipperary should both be retaken.
You think so, yeah?
100%. Look where Burns strikes the ball.
Okay, Burns carried over to 21, did he?
Yeah, and then look at Billy Nolan, he advances. You're supposed to wait on the line until the ball is struck. You can come off the line when the ball is struck, which is way too late. But you're supposed to wait. And as soon as the ball has been risen, Billy Nolan advances and closes the angle a bit. Now, it didn't make a difference because it was straight at him. But if you look where he sits down probably a yard and a half ahead of the line. Can't do that. So, yes.
Second one is a little bit more controversial. He's talking about his own goalkeeper here before you think we're having a go at the lad.
Tipp, Reid Shelley, is it?
Yeah, is Shelley a bit of a shaper? I think we would be better with Brian Hogan in goal instead. Can't see what Shelley offers the team, and I'm happy for Skehill to call me out.
That's a fair statement now. Jesus, that's a fair statement.
He's going Brian Hogan in the Battle of the Hogans to be the other one.
And the first question I want to ask that person, who asked the question?
Tomas Tiernan, I believe was his name. I've dropped the phone.
So, Tomas, is Brian Hogan your clubmate? That's the first thing I want to ask you, right?
I don't think he's from Lara. No, it was Brian Hogan he was going for.
Brian.
He's a North Tipperary man, but I don't know if he's from Lara. But anyway, go on.
Look, we were present in Croke Park last year, and we watched Reid Shelley, and he was fantastic. He's fantastic. And if you're a shaper, like whatever phrase he used there, terminology, and you're producing the goods, shape away, my friend. Shape away, my friend. Like, didn't he save? He had a great save last year. He came forward, very smart, and scored a point from playing Croke Park in Ireland final as a goalie. And the thing about his puck out is very good. Like, he can. I do the same to our goalkeepers right at home. If you can stand static, right, and hit the ball 80 yards at a low trajectory, you're a weapon. You're an absolute weapon. If you have to take a big long run, big long swing that's kind of telegraphed, you're telling defenses where the ball is going, you're not a weapon. So if you watch the difference between Shelley, right, he can stand static and he can ping it up to about probably 70 yards. Do you know what I mean? At a low trajectory that cuts out defenses and that gets there in real fast time. Then you contrast that with the likes of, not picking on him, just saying, right, Patrick Collins, the way he strikes the ball. Like, even the goal Jay Connolly got, Peter Casey should have hooked him. It's the big long strike that's telegraphed, that takes time, and that gives that millisecond for an opposition defence to reposition. So Shelley's puck out is a weapon, and you should utilise that. And I think that's the primary reason for me that Cahill changed his goalkeepers last year throughout the championship, to utilise that puck out, to get the ball into zones, particularly when opposition defences set up really well in long puck outs. Long puck outs nowadays has become, nearly just a pandemonium ball. You fire it down there and you hope for the best. There's no real pattern, no real play. You hope to get on the break first, and it's very rare you see a one-to-one man going up win the puck out. You don't see like a Walter Walsh or Johnny Glynn or these guys going up one-to-one. Like, we see Hegarty the odd time, but go across the board now. Go across the board in the rest of the counties. Have you seen that now much in the game today? No, it's because the athleticism and the time it takes, it's too good at the moment. Whereby as soon as the ball goes long, there's bodies everywhere. So you need to re-strategize, shorten it up, aim for 60 yards back or 70 yards back and work the ball up to get over the half-back lines. And that's why you look at Shelley. Most goalkeepers that are playing today now are in, when I say most, you know what I'm saying, are in a position whereby they have to have that in their armoury. If they don't have that, they're not going to be playing. It's that simple. And so Shelley, for me, as a short-range striker, I do believe the best short-range striker in 60 yards is Shelley in the country. The best 30-yard range striker in the country is Quaid. And the best long-range striker, into space for me is still Quaid. So, but Shelley in the middle there, in the 60-yard middle, deadly, fucking deadly. Whips the ball and it goes so fast. You know what I mean? So that for me is the primary reason he's in there, and that's one of the primary reasons they won the Ireland last year.
Yeah. Long puckouts, by the way, I'm going to be entirely biased here, but Liam Hoare is actually given a different dimension to Offaly with the longer puckouts that he can play as well.
Yeah.
Very close to him and Mark Troy as goalkeeper, probably very similar shot stopping wise. Go on.
So this has happened to myself as well. If you have a long puck out, right, you push back opposition half-back lines. So what you do is, instead of the opposition half-back line situating themselves in the 45, they end up situating themselves in the 35. And what that does is gives you an ample amount of space to hit in front of your half-forward line or your midfielders, and if they push up, you just go out over them anyways. So the fact that you have a goalkeeper that can get that distance, again, is another weapon. So like if you've got a guy who can range 60 yards back and then go over a half-back line and sit them way back, that makes the opposition half-back line midfield constantly questioning where is he going to go with this one. And then you add in the fact that I just said, if you can do it from a static position, geez, you can kill them. Like a two. So for example, I would always try practice that when I was playing. If I can a two-step puck out 100 yards, if I can hit the ball 100 yards in 2 steps and hit 80 yards in 1 step, then no defense, let's say, can get there quick enough, if you know what I'm saying. But if I have to go 4 or 5 steps long to get 100 yards, then it's telegraphed. So that's why you look at the puck outs is so important. And I know everyone look at Offaly and they look at Screeney and they score in Dan Burke, but your goalie is making a difference too. That long range, the freeze, big long puck out, it just causes pandemonium. So yeah, good point.
No, and it's a safer ball coming out too. The amount of times Offaly gave away goals last year from short puckouts was killing us at one point, and now as you say, it forced the team back. They're not as likely to press it up as high as they used to. They now go back kind of anticipating a longer puck out, and Horace got a decent range of puck out as well. I just want to bring something from Mark, not just because he was thanking us for doing a live podcast, but he was also asking Murph, the kernel of the point here, is it counterproductive for Kilkenny to try and copy a Munster play style? Assuming that is the type of play style that Derek Lyng is trying to bring at the moment. Should Kilkenny be playing their old school and not worrying about trying to ape the way that other teams are playing? Or is this actually the way that Kilkenny have to play if they're going to progress further on?
Well, I didn't know it was a Munster style. I just thought it was predominantly Munster teams that, fashioned this. I don't know through what necessity. Like, if you think back, at what stage do we say that this was fashioned? I traditionally would have seen the Cork teams back around the 2000s start to be teams that carry the ball. Think of the likes of the Clare team around 2013. Probably mentioned something about this last week or the week before. And then eventually it became a possession style of game, like where Limerick eventually came along and it was stats, holding on to the ball, playing the type of ball that was a low chance that was going to be intercepted or taken off you, and retaining the possession. I would think actually Kilkenny took too long, and I included at the time I was there, that we probably stuck to the traditional brand of hurling. We're a little bit naive, keep going with the 50-50 balls when we should have carried it a bit more. And I think it definitely played into the hands of teams when they sat away from us and we kept lumping long balls. So I would think that actually at times where you see Kilkenny not playing well, it's because they predominantly strike a long ball too much, as opposed to finding that balance of carrying the ball, draw the team onto you, and carry the ball through the lines. And then if the team steps up on you a bit more, as we saw last night, go and deliver it long and get it into your Mossy Keown. But you can't keep delivering it long when the opposition half backline is sitting under 45 or even before it, because you have a very narrow space to actually land that ball into. So I would say that Kilkenny, it's actually something that they've been looking to improve, or we've been looking to improve over the years, is the improvement of carrying the ball through the lines. Like against Galway, I thought we were very flat when we tried to play that game. Whereas against Wexford, lads ran off the shoulder. And I think that's why Paddy Deegan went out onto the wing back position. He was too far back from cornerback to do it. He wasn't able. Whereas David Blanchfield went up and got a point because he went bombing up the line and they worked it out. Killian Doyle had a great game at midfield, really facilitated the boys coming out. So where the game I felt was very lateral against Galway, at any time where they kind of had the ball, and if they weren't doing that, they were just lumping long ball. They carried a lot more and were a bit more linear running through the lines at the moment. So I think it's actually something that we have had to try and move with the times over a generation to try and actually get to the stage where other counties were at it. And he's probably correct in saying that other counties really took to it to bring themselves back to the top table, whereas Kilkenny maybe fell behind a little bit because we took too long to accept that, well, this is where we have to be in terms of retaining possession, carrying the ball, and yes, still go and win your 50-50 and tackle and do all that stuff, but be able to do everything. You have to be able to mix it up. You can't just decide to go, we're a long ball team and fake it. No, you can't. And you also can't be a team that only carries. You have to have a blend. And I think the blend where Kilkenny struggled to do it was the carrying for years. Now we're hopefully trying to get to that space where the younger lads who have come through 16s and minors and 20s have done that for enough years. So that's the end goal of the whole thing, I suppose.
Yeah, I do appreciate the point that a few people are making. Kilkenny were really, really bad against Galway. It was very difficult to judge how they played against Wexford because Wexford weren't great. They probably should beat Offaly the next day. They'll anticipate they beat Dublin because they usually do, but maybe we get more of a measure of Kilkenny as we go on further. Podge is in contact about Galway. I didn't see the Galway Offaly game today. I was working at home, so I was listening to the game on the radio as opposed to watching it.
Sorry, what was Galway Offaly anywhere?
No.
Okay.
No,
neither was Dublin Kildare, so you couldn't watch those two this week.
I was wondering, I didn't think so.
So that's the reason that we kind of left them as the last two games to talk about, really. But Podge making the point that Galway had a lot of wides, 17 wides this week against Offaly. From what I gathered, again, from what I heard and from reading the reports, it was a case of Galway again, whatever about the wides, did a lot of damage against the wind today. Similarly what they did to Offaly in the league earlier this year as well. So they were 3 points up having played against a strong wind in the first half. Eventually Galway win by 226 to 118. The goals came reasonably late in the game. Conor Cooney and Rory Burke got them. Aaron Nyland with 9 points. Rory Burke again impressive, finishing up with 1-2. Offaly kind of stuck in that game. As Murph mentioned, they were kind of 3-4 points points down for the best part. Oisin Kelly gets the goal. You're wondering if there's going to be a kick, but it was Galway who finished the game out much stronger. And I saw among the reports as well, it was 19 wides actually that Galway had during the game, and they missed quite a few goal chances. That was in John Fallon's report, which is in a few of the newspapers tomorrow as well, but all the damage done in the first half. I saw someone saying as well, Skehill, quite aside from the wides that Galway have hit the last couple of weeks, do you reckon that Conor Cooney is going to get back in and be a fixture in this team again, or is he now in the role of impact sub?
As a starter? You'd have to say at the moment you'd say no.
Okay.
You see, first of all, he's in great shape. He brought himself back into fantastic shape. And like, he's a great sub to bring on for 15, 20 minutes. Like, if you've got players who are in form, and I use players like Rory Burke, Jason Abbott, Aaron Lyland, who are now the perennial starters this year, like, leave them in it. Like, the formula at the moment shows that we're winning. So don't change the formula. Like, even the team, the way it's picked at the minute, I'd leave it alone. Like, Cathal Manning's not shooting the lights out, lads, like he was last year. Today he got what? 3-4 points, and he got 3 from frees. He got a point from play. So Cathal Manning, All-Star, in 2 games, he's got what? 1 point from play? And still we're winning, and winning okay. So the formula is obviously working. And I think the way the Galway are playing the game, the minute, in very short ball, very athletic, they have that great athleticism in the middle of the park. And I always use numbers 5 to 12 lads. They've got great pace and athleticism, so keep doing it. And bringing in someone like him who's a high ball option, he can play in both lines of the pitch, half forward line, full forward line, great to have. But at the minute, you'd have to say there's no change necessary.
Yeah, I guess from an Offaly perspective, is the fact that game was tight. I know people see the kind of the final scoreline and think, okay, well, Galway pulled away there towards the end of it, but Offaly took an unmerciful beating from a 14-man Galway team at home last year. This all seems to be moving in a much better direction at this stage, and that's even with the injuries they had coming into this weekend. I'm not sure if guys are going to be back for the Kilkenny game. Brecon Kavanagh went off the last day. Dan Ravenhill has a knock now at the moment as well, but we shall see if they're back. I see a couple of people were saying... Sorry, go on.
I want to get your opinion on something.
Go for it.
You said that Offaly are they're playing better this year. Why?
I don't know.
What do you see as a supporter who's watched them heavily?
So the league was a little bit concerning, but I was always mindful that during the league, and I will not turn around after being pessimistic at the end of the league and say, oh look, it all looked like it was coming true as some kind of master plan by the end of it. It was difficult to gauge because they were coming up against teams that are just at a much higher level than them in Division 1A this season. And that was physicality, that was style of hurling, that was a little bit of everything. And aside from the Waterford game and at times against a very changed Kilkenny team, Offaly looked out of their depth. The big beating they took obviously was the Tipperary game. Cork sticking, 6 goals in them in Páirc Uí Chaoimh as well was worrying. And the type of application from the team against Cork wasn't great. I remember watching the stream of it that night and just thinking, they're letting Cork just run through them here. Like, not even put a hand on someone as they went through. And I thought maybe that was just dropped heads and a concern when it came around to the championship. And then I looked at the performance last week against Dublin, and a lot of those aspects that you'd really be hoping for, the harrying, the blocking, the hooking, all that type of stuff, the kind of non-negotiables that you have to have from a team if they're going to turn somebody over, were all there. And then it was just melded with a little bit of good play from the likes of Screeney and Charlie Mitchell, who've got that little bit of kind of talent in the forward line. And next thing, the scorelines are starting to creep up more to where they need to be. Again, 118 is roughly what Offaly are going to need to hit. They kind of are struggling to get to 20 points in a lot of the games in Division 1A. And now, it's funny, you talk to people, and I was chatting to a couple of people on Friday, and they were saying, why can't Offaly now target wins against Wexford and Kildare and get to 5 points at the end of this? And the more I think about it, why not? Like, last year they played very well in Wexford Park, didn't get points from the game, could have won that game. Watching Wexford the other day, if Wexford are in the type of form that they were against Kilkenny, Offaly give them a very good game. I'd still make Wexford probably just about favourites to win it, but why not give them a good go? And then obviously they have to go and beat Kildare one way or another if they're going to stay up for next season. And geez, I would have taken your hand off at the start of this if someone turned around and said you'd have 5 points at the end of it.
It's amazing the way the tone changes right after a performance or two. Because you were winding back here 3 or 4 weeks ago. You were genuinely concerned about the last game against Kildare. You were saying it's going to be a shootout. See who's going to stay up. And now we fast forward a couple of really decent performances, encouraging performances. And now you're saying to yourself, hey, we beat Wexford. You know what I mean? Like, let's have at it. And I don't see a reason why he couldn't, because the performance last week against Dublin was very good.
Yeah,
and as we know now, Pearse Stadium, my favourite place in the world, is a cauldron. It's like Galatasaray. It's fucking impossible place to go to.
Fortress Salt Hill, yeah.
You're never going to win.
No. And to be fair, I don't give the most optimistic fan. I don't even think Mick McDonough, the Offaly fan who you'll see behind the boards, and you'll see him frequently in the background on terraces of various games in his jersey, I don't think even Mick would think that Offaly were going to win away from home against Galway. I don't think too many people in Offaly think they're going to beat Kilkenny, despite the fact Kilkenny have been a little bit hot and cold. The fixtures to try and get points from were Dublin, Wexford, Kildare. And I think the performance against Dublin has just been a big lift, and hopefully they carry it on. A similar type performance against Wexford in a few weeks' time, and they'll give them a good rattle. Yeah. That's kind of my feeling.
Exactly.
That's what it is. No, it's in O'Connor Park as well.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's that year we have the 3 home games. You want to make the most of having 3 home games.
Might have supporters rested in.
Next week
you get very hot down in Nolan Park. You get lads arrested down there, so you do.
Oh Jesus, right? Let's not talk about that. Well, it's an active court case, particularly. But anyway, this is where you're like, you got your legal advice earlier on, and my legal hat kicks in.
While it's an active court case, is the quote from tonight.
Go out there.
Yeah, indeed. I believe it was actually up before the courts recently. But anyway, let's just go from there. Right, the club 3919. You've said this twice now, so let's go for it. I hope you pick your 3 out of Munster and Leinster now before the end of today. So who is going to qualify, who's not?
Let's pick a team each, though. I'll go first. Cork. Murph, you're next.
No. So hold on. We don't do it that way. We go, let's all have a team. Let's see who comes out. I'm very wary of what's going to happen in Limerick Clare. I think Limerick are now in danger, given the situation and given the 2 of their key players missing. I do still kind of expect them to win. And if they do, I think Cork, Limerick, Tipperary are still the 3 teams who qualify. But Munster is just at the moment. So I'm still going to go with those 3. I haven't changed my mind, but I appreciate that now all the permutations that we had originally are kind of out the window. We should have guessed there was going to be a draw. Should have known to be one along the way. I'm still going for those 3. I'm sticking with it.
It's very hard, though. The draws are the hardest ones to call. Obviously enough, they're the hardest ones to call.
But I'm taking it, Murph, that it's Tipp versus Clare is going to be such a big game for who qualifies. And I kind of half think the Tipp are going to beat Clare. Come at me, Clare supporters. Obviously, if Clare get a result in that one, Clare are going to qualify.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the fixtures now because I had to pull up the fixtures to have a look at where does this leave us now after today, and you're looking at it then going right, Clare and Limerick in Ennis next week. So for I still think Limerick are going to go win that. And then you're looking at Tipperary Clare is the big standout feature in terms of that 3rd place for me at the moment. Waterford Cork, I'm going to again go Cork to win that. So then you're going right, Tipp Clare. And
no one gets any points for predicting Cork at this stage are going to qualify. Cork are basically qualified already now. So
well, it's not necessarily who's going to qualify. It's where
you give me the order. Okay.
No. It's where do Clare, Waterford, and Tipperary get the points from after this? That's what I'm looking at. Okay. So like, for example, like Limerick are at the bottom of the table at the moment, but this was their first round today against the team that is most fancied to beat them. So what I'm reading into the fixtures from here on, and it's similar to what we mentioned at the start with Waterford, it's like, okay, Waterford, could they go and maybe get out of Munster now? But then you look at they've Cork at home and they have Limerick away, and like, that's tough. Whereas you look at Tipperary and Clare and you say, well, Tipperary and Clare, can they get out? Well, they have to face each other. So there's the first thing. And whoever wins that will tell a lot. And then you look after that, Tipperary going to Limerick could be a tough one. Clare in Cork, another tough one. So you're really looking at that Tipp Clare match, really deciding. It's at home then as well. And reading into the finer details on it, it's in Thurles. Clare have no issue playing in Thurles whatsoever. But if that was in Ennis, I'd be going, oh, fuck, this is harder again to even pick against. But I'm still going to stick with Tipperary. I'm still going Tipp, Clare, Tipp, Cork, and Limerick. Obviously, Cork are going to go out on top now by the looks of things. But that's where I'm going at. But like, such fine margins. Clare go and turn over Tipperary in Thurles. And, suddenly we have a 3 that we didn't predict at the start of the year.
That's the weekend of the 9th, isn't it? I think like that is the
16th.
Is the 16th.
16th, yeah.
Ooh, that is going to be tasty. Really tasty.
16th, it's at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. That's absolutely outstanding. Yeah. The Saturday night games are fantastic.
They are. Stockroom Tim here. Lovely stuff. We'll keep Clare in the long grass. That's where you want to be. If you're a supporter of these teams.
Absolutely.
Right? I said the same about Tipperary coming into championship. If people are talking them down or not talking about them, by all means, just kind of tip along.
Yes, that's what you want.
Let people talk about everyone else. Let them put the pressure on everyone else. And Clare have already got 2 points up on the board. I appreciate that. But that game with Tipp and Clare is going to be massive. So who's getting out for you, Skehill? I've already admitted I think Tipperary are going to beat Clare. So go on.
You need 4 points to get out, and you need a head-to-head in your favour.
Mm-hmm.
So Cork are going to get out, as we know. I still believe Limerick will get out. I think they'll get 4 points between Waterford and Tipperary games.
3 might get you out, though.
I don't think 3 gets out.
The draw could.
Because... Well, no, if Tipperary go and beat Clare, and then Clare don't get results from any of the rest of their games, Clare will stay on 2, So Clare will have Cork, and
So you're saying Waterford will get beaten throughout, Clare get beaten throughout.
well, I'm just saying the 3 could
Or
get them out.
Clare
You just that you were saying the 4 had to get you out, but the Tipp could get out in 3.
Yeah, because so where I'm standing, right, the reason I say 4 get you out, we know Cork are going to finish on a minimum of 4 at this point. Let's just be fair about that, right?
Yep.
Limerick will finish on 4 minimum, if not 6. Tipperary need 4. Jeez, lads, I'm leaning more towards Clare at the minute. Fuck.
A few people point to Clare have got an excellent record against Tipperary and Hurlis.
I have to say my tune has changed at the minute. At the very beginning, I was Cork, Limerick, and Tipperary in that order.
Cork. Limerick.
Now I'm Cork, Limerick, and I'm Clare.
Oh. That's what you want, though.
I fully anticipate the Tipperary fans are coming for us again.
Yeah, will Clare beat them in Hurlis? Oh, Jesus, I'm saying yes. Fuck it, screw it. Yeah, Cork, Limerick, and Clare. Go for it, shoot it. Go on, that's it.
Sign
off.
No messing around, baby. It's just like it's happened. Boom, done. Leinster. We're all assuming Galway are already qualified. We going Galway, Kilkenny, Dublin, or which
I'm
order?
going with that anyway. Galway, Kilkenny, Dublin.
I'm not going Galway, Kilkenny, Offaly. What's happening?
Oh, look at you now.
Look at you.
How the turns have tabled. Go on.
Galway, Kilkenny, and after last night's performance, Wexford, I was very disappointed in the performance. I couldn't see what strategy they had. I couldn't see any shooters from distance. I couldn't see any playmakers, to be honest. Saying, fuck, it's hard to get points out of here. I think Dublin will turn them over. So I'm sticking with Galway, Kilkenny, and the Dubs. So Big Tom the Guard will be happy with that. Well. We should look at well yourself, like, Jesus.
Before the audio listeners were wondering what well was there, but that was Tip back that effect. Well again. These boys were giving Tipperary all the love, and now they're knocking them out of the championship after they picked up 1 point from the first 2 games.
Well, I think 2 of us picked Tipperary. What did you pick?
I picked Tip. I seldom Tip again now.
Yeah, 66% of us picked Tip.
And you can't argue with that. River Power also very well in there too by saying that basically you can't be in the long grass, Clare, if you beat Limerick next week.
There's no
If they beat Limerick next week, we're ripping up all our permutations.
Oh yeah. And happily, if these permutations are all over the place, that's a good thing, because the script has been ripped up and we've had some unbelievable games. So I'm more than happy to sit on here and go, geez, we got that completely wrong, but wasn't it brilliant?
You're winning over the Clare supporters, by the way, as we get towards the end of this podcast and get ready to watch the highlights in the Sunday game. But Lohan for president, which I always love as a YouTube moniker, comes up a few times. Yeah. A boy Skehill, you'll be welcome in Ennis next Sunday.
And was I not welcome up to this point?
Did you have any clashes with them along the way? No.
In Ennistown?
No, not in Ennistown. But did you have a few of the Clare pundits come over to you once upon a time, as I recall? No.
There was a couple of smart cunts, right? Yeah. Sorry, I should have said that.
Not the bad C word of all the other words you could have used.
I said, I don't want to say blunt. And they were slightly intoxicated. But let's just say I gave as good as I got, William.
I well believe.
I let fucking rip, yeah.
Oh, well, I think we went through both of Murph's things. I saw someone there, and I want to credit the right person, but I starred their message, and then it disappeared from the stars, wherever I put it, was asking, would we ever get a special guest onto the pod? Well, I mean, we've had a few guests on the pod over the time. We had Podge Collins after Clare won the league final.
League, yeah.
So we wanted to chat to him. And he was in when Murph was away on duty at one point.
And we named a calf after him. Yeah.
We did name a calf after him. So he stepped in. We had Willie Mara on the pod last year.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Have we had anyone else on? So, yeah, I kind of like the dynamic of the three.
Tony O'Regan.
We did have Tony on, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like we've been there. I mean, again, look, if people want to stick in the comments or the live comments or comments afterwards, who would you like us to get on? I will check the budget that's come in from these super chats, and I will see if we can actually afford anyone. Because one of the things I was Googling, because I saw someone went, oh, Will's eyes have lit up when he sees these super chats coming in. Someone sent us 100 Swedish kronas, and I had to look up how much that's worth. And it is worth around €9.
Jeez.
Why? I don't know, yeah.
No, we do a pod in Sweden, so
can afford a little bit of Podge Collins.
We put up our account numbers this year. What do we do?
I don't know. this is all fairly new to me. I mean, I watch a few live streams on YouTube and on Twitch and so on. I see people doing this all the time, and they're like, well, we'll only bring up the super chats, so you have to give the money before they bring it up. It's not really our game, to be honest, and it's not really our game either for Bilal, who left quite a few comments one after another for his 2 English pounds. Can I give you a hickey? No.
Can I give you?
Is the kind of short answer on that one. But yeah, look, again, it's unusual. I was not expecting get Davey on the pod. Do you honestly think that Davey is going to answer any of our calls when we say, hey, would you like to come on? Andy Comfort, I see, has been suggested there. Like, I mean, unfortunately, I think at this stage, Andy Comfort has his place, which is the podcast he's on right now. And the minute the Kilkenny were beaten, I was straight on to the Kilkenny Community Radio podcast to see what he was saying.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable. Yeah, so yeah, I think it was on after we recorded the other night. It was 15 minutes. It was good stuff. It was good stuff. Now,
by the way, I have no idea what he's going to do this week after a good performance.
It's good stuff.
I think he'd be positive. Do you know the one thing I'm enjoying about it is that he obviously has a few preloaded lines coming into it that are just entertaining. Yeah, the Easter Roar. That, you know, there's a few different ones anyway. I just think it's good. It's good on trip. I think he'd be positive. It'll probably be out tonight anyway. I'd imagine it'll be out tonight. So I'll definitely be listening to it.
Right, the super chats continue, right? So here is an actual genuine super chat which is coming from Jamie Flood, who's given us £6. Not going into our pockets. I need to find a way to get to the back end of YouTube and get this money out for ourselves. If you're doing a live show, can you do an analysis of plays during the year and giving advice to players?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what, Jamie, right? Given that you've now given us £6, you have bought our time on this one. Send me some of the plays that you would like the lads to chat about.
Yeah.
I can send them the videos. I don't think I can put them on YouTube or put them onto such and such because we'll get taken down. But send us what they are. You can DM me on... I'll put a comment underneath your comment. You can send me a DM on YouTube if that's the handiest way to do it, or send me an email. So it's william.o'callaghan@offtheball.com if you want to send any emails during the week about the Hurling Pod. Flick me one and some of the plays the lads want to talk about. We have looked at a whole load of things that we were interested in doing, and we kind of never really got around to them, but we could. Tommy Walsh and Lara Corbett. I think Tommy would come on. Tommy is a regular listener, and I heard one or two Hurling Pod isms coming out from Tommy over the last couple of weeks, so there's no doubt he listens. And he has texted me before and went, Skehill was talking about that, or Murphy said this, so he does listen. Lara Corbett, is Lara doing anything else at the moment on the other pods?
I don't think so. Tommy rang me last night at the Kilkenny match, so sitting there at half time, and so sorry, spoiler alert now, there's soccer about to be spoken here. But Tommy was doing GA plus, I think he was anyway, and my phone starts ringing. It's Tommy, and I was like, he's looking at me here somewhere now, and he's about to tell me what colour t-shirt I'm wearing or whatever. But I was like, well, how's it going? Well, how are you? Jez, good old game so far anyway. Hopefully they'll do well in the second half. Come here. Is the Arsenal match loading for you there? What's the score? It won't load for me up here in the box. I said, stay with me there now for a second. He goes, yeah, it was 1-0 the last time I was checking, and I'm not able to see it now at the moment. So next thing I had to look, it's 1-0. Yeah, good man. He just hangs up the phone. And I was like, sound Tommy.
Brendan on the Facebook, Brian Cody. There's absolutely no chance that Cody comes on this pod. He's not doing podcasts.
No, he's not.
Not a fucking hope. Do you know what happened is I text Brian and he'd send a really nice text back saying no.
Yeah, that'd be
lovely to be asked. Absolutely no chance I'm going on a podcast to talk to people. Does Skehill know if Anthony Burns will be playing for Galway this year? Do you know?
No, he won't.
He's just not in the panel, or what's happened?
Yep. Grant.
Okay. Could we bring Patrick Horgan on? Seems to be on everything lately. As far as I know, he's doing RT and he's doing the Examiner pod. So from that point of view, no, I would imagine. Look, I would love to have a crossover, and just, like, we chat all the time to people who are on other podcasts and stuff, and that's the funny thing. I just kind of want to stay on pods as well, because we are almost at the end of our night for tonight. Listened to a load of pods last week because I was traveling around on Monday. Usually kind of not traveling as much as I was, and I listened to 4 or 5 different hurling podcasts and football podcasts, and the standard at the moment is really, really good. Not just bigging ourselves up. Someone said to me, power rank them. I might well do that at some point later on. But like, I'm really enjoying Pat Ryan is now on the Indo pod at this stage. I listen to the Examiner pod from time to time when it comes to the hurling. I kind of try and take in as much as we can. The only one rule I have in my own head, I don't listen to those podcasts before we record, because the last thing you want to do is just rabbit something that someone else has said.
Yeah.
And it happens accidentally. You go, oh, what about this? I much prefer, we just have our chat reasonably unfiltered and kind of go from there. But some of the football podcasts are really good. Like a lot of those GA podcasts are really, really good at the moment. Pat Ryan, sound lad. Yeah, would have had him on Off the Ball a few times a couple of years ago as well. Just kind of when he initially was off the Limerick panel. I think he's really, really good. I really enjoyed his take last week, particularly on the... I don't know if you boys saw this, on the amount of people who are buying fouls by going in underneath the defender's arm. He's 100% really right on that.
100% right. Yeah, absolutely.
100% right. Steps are a bigger blight on hurling than the hand pass, pod god. Yeah, it's a problem at the moment. The hand pass obviously became just such a big thing that everyone was talking about. Stockroom Tim, get Tommy Guilfoyle on. Again, I'm sure we could. Maybe chat to him after one of the Clare games. Barry is wondering, Skehill, you can answer this one before we finish. Are you happy with the Patriots draft? I'm giving my Lions a B+. He's a Detroit fan.
Detroit, I give ours an A-. We got a tackle, an edge, we got a tight end, O-line. Why you picked up a QB, I don't know, in the 7th, but I'm happy, very happy.
Oh, sorry, the clubman Pat Ryan, the ex-Cork manager. Might be a possibility. I know
both Pat Ryans. There's your solution.
Yeah, have both the Pat Ryans there. Cork Pat Ryan, as I recall, is due to go on Off the Ball reasonably soon. I think he just wanted a bit of time, obviously, after leaving. Yeah. And then he didn't want to be chatting when Cork were in the middle of the league. But I think he is due to go on and chat to the lads. Again, I don't know, maybe he would come on the pod. And some people were also asking as well, bring on both Pat Ryans. Why don't you have a Pat Ryan special? How you, Pat?
That'd be very tough. Pat, if I can come across to you there.
Pat Ella, what do you think about this?
P1 and P2.
Yeah. Tip back, that's a fact, and we will round off in a second. Thoughts on Mike Vrabel, Skehill?
Get out of it.
As your coach.
Tip back that effect. Get out of it. I don't know, boys. Do you know what the story is going here in the background, G?
No, go on.
Well, no. We'll get off the pod now. You can go Google it. No.
All right, okay.
Answer that.
Fair enough. You can save that one 100%. If you do want a bit of... Right.
I'm going Googling straight away.
Yeah, straight to it. Again, Google at your own leisure in the background, listeners and viewers. What was I going to say? Yeah, if you want to see a bit more draft fun, Seamus from the WE was drafting for the Tennessee Titans yesterday.
How did we get this going, Will?
How to get to here?
How do we get this going? He was holding off the ball mic, right?
Yeah.
How do we get an off the ball mic in my hand doing a draft pick for the Patriots? How do we get this going?
Well, I think more important, if you want to manifest it, you need to have the NFL Network microphone in front of you, which is the most important one, and then you're doing the draft for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Again, if you've got friends over in Boston, maybe you can turn around and get them involved.
Jesus.
Get them sorted, because they're obviously these teams are mad keen. I know the Patriots don't have the Ireland license just yet, and by God, we've gone off topic now. But the Tennessee Titans do, and I think the only one they've got in Europe at the moment is Ireland. And I noticed that the Packers also did their pick in Dublin last night. And the Packers are mad keen to come over here. So, yeah, the Pats aren't really, they're not the new Ireland Patriots just yet.
No, they're more towards German at the minute.
It seems so. But yeah, look, again, why not give it a go? I mean, Seamus is good fun. And the interview's worth watching. It's about half an hour long. He talks about everything and anything during that interview as well. That should be up on the YouTube. I think it was going up as I was getting this live ready. Football first in the Sunday game. That is good news if you're still watching us, but we are going to finish up now in a second. Righto. Anything else, Skehill, you want to bring to the listeners before we finish?
Over the course of the weekend, in terms of analysis, all my notes have been covered. Every time we do this games on, I take like an encyclopedia of notes.
Right.
And then I see what does Murph cover that I've noted, and he covers half them, which rules out half my notes. The only question I wanted to ask was, are refs playing enough time for the advantage? Are we seeing the advantage?
I think they're actually playing too much. I think
that's a good one.
It's 5 seconds, and like they're seeing some of them playing on for 8 seconds, 9 seconds,
which is perfect. But there was 2 today. I thought, Jesus, you could have let that go.
Which ones today?
Again, it was Tipp Waterford again today.
Waterford had won. They did a shot go over and it went back for the free.
Waterford were true, yeah, and they could have got going for a goal. I just felt like the foul was blown like on instant. So you're saying to yourself, Jesus, is that too soon? Did you let the play develop a little bit? Did you not feel like over the last couple of days that there was a couple of situations whereby the advantage, if it was let go, there could be a good opportunity, then pull it back? Because 5 seconds in real time is a long time.
It is. I thought about that at the Waterford one as well when they were clean through last week. And it was just, I appreciate it was two lads tangling off the ball that ultimately leads to the clear space in front of goal. But just think if the ref just holds his whistle for a second, there's a potential goal chance on. Mm-hmm. It's a delicate balance, Murph. You think they're doing it too much?
I didn't say they're doing too much. I think
too long.
I didn't say they're doing too much.
I've seen more instances of where, see, what usually happens is like advantage, a lad gets caught up in a tackle and they blow back for the free anyway, which is fine. I've seen a few instances where lads are playing like 7, 8, 9 seconds because they're really looking to see will anything transpire from this. But it's 5, like, you know, and that's kind of it. There's actually an interesting one which I don't think have any of you seen this yet. I'm fairly sure, unless they've corrected it. Let's say Skehill fouls me and I go on. I'm like, I turn to the referee and like, well, I want the free, and I just stand there. I can actually be blown for travelling. I have to continue to try and play the ball as normal. I can't just turn to the referee and say, I want that. We had a club match where a referee blew because one of our lads got tackled and he put the hand up and said advantage, and your man just stood there and went, I'll take the free, and he went, you don't get to do that. Like, as in you just you have to play on. So like, by all means, drive it up the field or strike it out over the sideline, do what you want, but you can't just stand there. It's actually trouble. Anyone can correct me in that. I'm nearly sure of it.
Like in rugby, Murphy, you have to catch the ball and throw it.
You have to catch the ball.
So if I get an advantage in rugby, right, I have to stop and throw it, drop it.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, but in hurling, like I thought if you just called like for the free, they give it to you.
No, like we played a club match last year, and thankfully we were up by 7 or 8 points, and one of our boys got fouled, blatant foul, and he just turned to the referee and he was on his knees and he went, I'll take the free. And the referee goes, you can't do that. And he went, what? I'll take the free. He was like, I'll take the free. He goes, no. And eventually we were standing there, he goes, free, the other direction, or a hot ball. I can't remember which it was. But yeah, there's one or two ones now, actually. I saw one there today, and this isn't like honing in on any player, but who was it for Waterford in the first half? They were running through, and their hand wasn't caught, but they basically threw the ball out in front of them and let it bounce and rose it back up. I was like, that's a free. It was in the first 5 or 10 minutes, and they were on the near sideline, and they were running along. I can't think who it was. No, it wasn't Kyle. No, sorry, it was in the Waterford Tipp match.
Game.
Oh, sorry, that was in the
Limerick
game as well.
Yeah, and it was like they actually threw it out and like bounced on the ground, and they picked it back up. I was like, but you can't throw the ball into the ground. You can't do that. Like, a throw is a throw. So yeah, like, so I've seen a few things where it's like the one last year as well, where Ian Galvin got a great point. You know, the one where he lost the hurl, picked the ball up, soloed, got the hurl. But you can't kick the ball. You can't drop the ball down and kick it back up into your hand. Like, remember that was outlawed back. Sean Og used to do it.
You can't drop the hurl.
No, but you can't have the ball in your hand, throw it down, and solo the ball back to your hand with your foot.
Oh yeah, you remember UCA? You catch it between both feet, flick it up. But there was
no,
like, no.
No, but you can't. Listen to me, Will. What I'm saying. Gaelic football, you have the ball in your hand, and you drop it down, and you kick it back up to your hand to solo. You can't do that in hurling. I'm nearly 100% sure you can't do that in hurling. Sean Og did it a few years ago, a few times, and someone came along and said you can't do that. Now this is what thrown out to listeners. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I remember Ian Galvin scored a point last year where he dropped the hurl, picked up the ball, ran 4 steps, soloed, as in Gaelic football style, back into the hand, and got a point. And I was like, geez, unreal. And I was like, I think that's actually wrong. I think that's a foul, actually, funny enough. So sorry. Yeah, you kept saying you knew what I meant, Will.
No. And to be fair, River Power, that's great. Just listen to me. I was like, okay, sorry. I've misinterpreted what you were going with.
I should have came into the microphone. I'm going to say this one more time, Will.
It's the most threatening this podcast has ever become. And Tom Clancy also pointing out that Murph knows the rules. You can't solo with your foot. You can gain possession with the foot.
Gain possession, but you can't solo. So there you go. That's that point. Should have been free out against Ian Galvin. Probably lad saying it was savage.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ian Galvin. You're a nice lad.
There you go. And Leonard Tobin also making the point there. The rule states you have to hit the hurled foot, so it doesn't count. Okay, that's interesting.
There you go.
It seems a bit mad, doesn't it, though, why it's a foul?
It was brought in, I know it's a silly one, but it was brought in the time, I remember specifically, Sean Og is the example. I think it was brought in around 05, 04 maybe. He was doing a few of them solos. And for some reason, TJ were like, not having that. Get rid of it. Not doing this. Who do you think you are? It could be since the 1920s. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure.
You're kind of taking your health into your own hands if you're going to try and do that when someone could potentially like pull down on your foot as well. But,
well, as Murph said, if you're doing the 1920s, you're taking your life into your
in general, anyway. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right, okay. Well, that's our lot for this week. Next week's going to be fun, though. I think it's one of those where we can really focus around one game. So I'm going to ask you both for a prediction, because I don't think we do like a massive pod predicting this. We've talked about it a lot already. So next weekend, it's a little break in Leinster. They get their little week off. And we get still a high-profile game in the Munster Championship on the bank holiday weekend, which is Clare against Limerick next Sunday in Cusack Park. So, simply put, Skehill, who's going to win that game before we finish?
First of all, it's a saucy one. Clare and Limerick is always a saucy one. Oh, jeez, it is a saucy. I think it was there last year for the... was that the first round of the Championship last year, the year previous? It was the year previous, actually.
Year previous, yeah.
And that was saucy, but Limerick came through. I'm going to have to go with Limerick, Will. Okay. I'm going to have to go on the simple basis that I think that the Limerick backs have a better chance of holding the Clare forwards, and the Clare backs have of holding the Limerick forwards. Straight up. Regardless if they're in the absentees of Lynch and Kilkenny. There's enough there, if you ask me. Crowds, I don't think it make a difference. That notice today, you see that today with regards to Cork. Like, they were well overpowered in terms of numbers in the stadium, and they still managed to play really well. So the venues we've seen Limerick travel to go play to tough places and get victories. And I just think it's a question of the forward units. You know, who can do more damage to the respective back units. And I just sided with Limerick.
Ooh, do you not think Clare have got the better forward unit overall, though?
Overall, yeah. But if you were doing power rankings now of defensive units,
we do love power rankings out this Tuesday on Off the Ball. Go on.
So, like, would you say Limerick have a top 5 defensive unit all day? All day. Top 3 defensive unit, top 2 defensive unit. Have Clare top 5 defensive unit? I would say no. Have Limerick a top 5 forward unit? Yes. Have Clare top 5 forward unit? Yes. So see, there's a bit of a difference. So my point being is that I just think the Limerick forwards will get a bit more change over the Clare backs than the other way around, if that makes sense. Like, they match up fierce well. I think the Limerick backs match up well with the Clare forwards. Wow. So, like, who's going to mark Shane Lennon? Pick anyone.
Mike Casey?
Probably Mike Casey, yeah.
Pick anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, Hayes can take Duggan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Finn can take Rogers. You know, there's just good matchups in the Limerick backs for the Clare forwards, but I can't say the same for Clare. I just can't.
Okay. So basically, Clare's defense is your concern then?
Yes, yeah, it is. Yeah. I just don't see the same level of even intimidation in the Clare's defense I do in Limerick or others. You know, when Colin was there at 6, like, he was imperious at 6. But, like, I can't see him starting there again. Do you? It's hard to see how he wouldn't start another Farrell there again, to be fair.
No, the Farrell was very good last night. That was
come here. That's that. I see people who listen to this will take it that I'm absolutely shitting on Clare. I'm not. I'm just saying in terms of margins, right? I just think there's a greater margin between the Limerick forwards and Clare defence versus the other side. That's all. And thank you, Richard Hogan, as my legal representative. So,
podcast title gets changed now. Skehill shits on Clare will be the podcast title.
Jesus.
Yeah, your own quote.
Only welcome to me to this today. This 5 years on.
I know. I believe you might well get a text from Shannon and someone. We were thinking about sending you tennis next week as well, but that's more about that and on. Who are you going with, Murph, for this one?
Yeah, I'm going Limerick as well. Again, just what I see from they lost today against Cork, but when I saw from both teams, I was like, God, that's a serious standard altogether. Cian Lynch's loss, Galan most likely won't be there. But just again, like when we look at the goal chances that Waterford created against Clare as well, like you're looking at Limerick, then you're going, God Almighty, like they can do that as well. You'd probably say even more so. Yeah, definitely even more so than Waterford. So I think if that transpires again, Limerick will have a fair job going down the other end to try and outshoot Limerick. So I'm just going to go with Limerick.
I hate to do this by all three of us going for it. I think Limerick are going to win as well.
Sure, look, we'll happily come on here and be wrong.
Absolutely. We put the hex on them. And as somebody said under the power rankings last week, they went, is that the same Will O'Callaghan who thought the Tipperary were going to beat Cork last week? And I'm like, yeah, I did. And that's the reason Tipperary went down in the power rankings, because they didn't. That's how the power rankings work. Are Cork going to go ahead against Limerick and go to the top of the power rankings this week? Tune in on Tuesday to find out. But the answer is yes. So yeah, I don't think any bookmakers are now paying out on Cork like last year. But see, that's where you want to be on the long grass, by the way. Also, this is absolutely correct as we come out, particularly for the YouTube viewers. Ask your viewers to like and subscribe to help your podcast grow. I'm not sure if that was a bot comment or an actual one, but 100%. If you guys are leaving at the moment and you get ready to watch the Sunday game, maybe you're going off to watch the football or you're going off to watch the hurling on the Sunday game in a couple of few minutes, leave us a like, leave us a comment. Makes a big difference in terms of people seeing it on the YouTube. I think last week was our best video of the year, which is great, off the back of the first week of Championship. And if you're on any of the podcast sites, just leave us a comment there too. I think on the Spotify is one where it goes, what did you think of this podcast? And there's always kind of chat in there now at this stage. But by all means, leave us something on Apple, leave us something on wherever you pick up your podcast. There's a million places you can do it now. It does help the pod to grow quite a bit as well. There's still loads of comments coming in. We'll end up staying for the night if we end up reading all of them. Of course, the podcast, the Hurling Pod this year, and of course, Hurling on Off the Ball more generally, is with thanks to Applegreen. They're helping you relax, recharge, and enjoy the journey ahead. We will be back next week. I think, do we go probably early enough next Sunday, depending on what happens. It's an early throw-in, I think, next week as well, isn't it?
We can, yeah.
I think. So we'll do Sunday evening, I think. Maybe a bit earlier than now. What do you think, Skehill, if you're not in Ennis? Your new sexy laptop?
Sunday is 2 o'clock, is it? No, it's not. It is, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
It's the one game Sunday, isn't it? There's no Leinster next week.
No. Break week.
Yeah, so it's 2 o'clock, so enough. Yeah, we'll have time.
Boom. Let's make it happen. All right. Scott, we shall see you next week.
God bless.
As I find the video to play us out, Paul Murphy will see you next week as well.
We'll talk to you, lads.
And more importantly, we will see you listeners and viewers next week as well. Thanks for joining us.
The Hurling Pod
On Off the Ball.
with Applegreen, making every journey better.